home brewers, craft brewers, beer lovers, beer drinkers.
Get ready for an all-new experience in information exchange and beer culture.
Your only source for live beer radio that brings expert brewers from around the globe
right to your home.
You're not just listening to broadcasters, it's the Brewcasters
on the Brewing Network.
There you are.
I love that intro.
It's fun.
It is.
I made fun of it last week, though.
Yeah, that surprised me.
Because it sounded like a monster truck intro, and I thought that was a little cheesy. But then I was told afterward to keep it.
Yeah, you should.
Dr. Scott's back with us today.
Yeah, it feels good to be back.
Oh, we missed you. Hey, guess what, everybody?
Guess what?
John was on time today.
Yes.
Was he on time last week?
No. He was,
what about the week before that?
Like an hour late.
No, you weren't. You're late then, too.
I was on time.
Lots of lateness. Even Dr. Scott. Well, if we had started the show on time, Doc would have been a minute late.
Hey, I got the motorhome in the driveway at 4 o'clock.
Yeah?
Well, took a shower.
That's amazing.
Zipped on over here. I had a lot of traffic coming through Santa Rosa and Petaluma.
Okay. Yeah, for those of you who didn't listen last week, so we missed Dr. Scott last week. He was on family vacation. The funny part is, though, that he actually planned the end of his vacation to be back for this week's show, which is always nice. I'm sure it went over well. He's like, honey, we really could just camp a couple hours north of Concord on Saturday night, which is pretty much what you did, right?
I don't blame you, Doc.
Yeah, we spent the last couple nights in Willits.
Oh, okay.
And,
my uncle used to own land out there. It's beautiful.
Did you hit that brew pub that Matt told you to go to?
I hit the brew pub.
Okay.
Because that was right across. We were in Pacific City, Oregon.
Okay.
Over in the coast.
Gotcha.
Pelican Pub, yeah. And they were actually brewing when we were in there.
Nice.
And
did you meet Darren?
No, they looked busy and sweaty and tired and didn't look like they wanted to talk to any customers.
You're a tourist.
Yeah. And then he mentioned the other one, the something tavern.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Oh, you saw it?
Yeah, it looked like a lean-to, kind of a scrappy place. That's the other place to drink in Pacific City.
Good beer?
I think that's what he said, that there was only one other place.
I was mostly drinking at my campsite.
Oh, okay.
Your own beer?
My own beer.
Yeah. Attaboy. Okay, with us this week, just in case you've noticed strange voices coming from the studio, it's finally the Vinnie show, the Vinnie Cilurzo show. Everyone's been waiting for it so we can talk about Belgians, and I'm sure we'll get some IPA questions in there. Vinnie, say hello to your fans.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Cool, we're glad to have you here. Where did you travel from today? From home up in Russian River area?
I did not. I've been in the city for the weekend. It's the Tornado's 18th anniversary.
You're hungover, aren't you?
I'm very hungover. Yeah.
Nice.
In fact, Dave Keene, who owns the Tornado, I'm staying with he and Jennifer for the weekend, and Natalie, my wife's, rolling in today. He forgot me at the bar last night.
Oh, beautiful.
He left. How late? I was there at last call, and I go, "Where's Big Daddy?" That's Dave Keene's handle.
Okay.
Everyone calls him, and they're like, "Well, he left like half an hour ago. He just stumbled out of here and said, I got to go home."
Wow.
And I woke up this morning, and he leans into my room, and he's like, "Sorry, I forgot you at the bar."
Sorry about that whole I left you thing.
No problem.
Still friends?
Still friends, and tonight we're throwing him a 50th birthday party.
Nice.
I flew in one of his favorite bands from San Diego, the Dragons, to play the birthday show tonight. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's a big weekend, and
weekend of drinking.
Taking tomorrow off. There are bar owners from all over the country that have come in. A couple bar owners from Texas, Louis Mello from the Liars Club in San Diego drove up, and Don Younger from the Horse Brass came down.
Nice.
Jack Joyce from Owns Rogue is down. Just a slew of people in town just for this event.
That's cool.
18th anniversary at the Tornado, and
all right.
He's 50. I turned 50 yesterday.
It's a well-liked guy getting all these people coming in.
It blew me away when we set this thing up, because it only came together a week ago.
Okay.
So literally, everyone just made their flight plans last minute.
Gotcha.
Well, that's great.
Nice.
Good friends.
Very cool.
Well, you missed the Hangover show. That was a couple weeks ago, so you're on your own with the Hangover this time.
I got something to say about that.
Yeah? Hangover show?
I gave you a lot of crap for being hungover, and I tried to get you to start drinking again.
Yeah.
Last time I talked to you last week,
I
was at a brew pub in Portland, and from that point on, I managed to just get shit.
Sunday you're talking about.
Last Sunday. So I woke up Monday in a world of hurt. And I hadn't felt like that since I can remember.
Okay.
I wanted to order one thing, and that was a 12 gauge in one round.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all I could think of was you and all the crap I was giving you. And you know what? I am sorry. Officially sorry. Karma.
I appreciate
karma, man.
I appreciate that.
Have you ever, we have this thing where we drink Duvel when we're hungover.
Really?
And when you're hungover, Duvel is the most amazing hangover cure.
Interesting.
We do this all the time, and I had one this morning when I woke up.
You did?
And I absolutely did. And sometimes it's a 1 Duvel, 2 Duvel, or a 3 Duvel hangover.
Okay.
And this is another Big Daddy story. They were in England, I think at Young's Brewery, and one of the family members of the brewery was hungover as all hell, and they're supposed to be there for an 8 o'clock tour, and they walk into his office, and he pulls out 3 glasses, and instead of pulling out, English beer, he pulled out 3 Duvels for, himself and Dave and whoever else was there.
Okay.
And so now we drink Duvel for breakfast. And
right.
It is the hangover cure.
The things I wish I would have known.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I'm usually all for the, only one way to cure a hangover, solution, and that's that you have to, start drinking again. But Doc, man, that week I just couldn't do it.
I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to drink. And we ended up going to a McMenamins on the way out to the coast. There's so many tap handles. I wanted none of that. I barely got food in me. Once I got food in me, I was doing a lot better.
Yeah. Well, we had Marin Brewing Company in here that week, and he brought a bunch of beer. I couldn't have any of it. I took one sip, and that sip almost didn't stay down even. Yeah. It was rough.
I'm expecting to see Arnie tonight.
Are you? Okay.
I'm hoping. I left him a message, told him about the party.
All right, ask him about the hangover show.
I will.
And he'll go, oh, man. He wasn't doing too good himself, actually. He said he was a little hungover, but I looked like The Walking Dead.
Didn't you have Roger from Drake's recently?
Yeah, Roger was in. Although he came in on a good night. We were raring to go, and he brought in all sorts of good beer for us to drink.
He killed me and John.
Yeah, that's true. That was their first drunk show. I was making fun of these two by the end of the show because they were just hammered.
Yeah, we stopped talking.
We got hammered fast.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he brought like bourbon barrel aged
Scotch ale.
Yeah, Scotch ales and port barrel aged Scotch ales.
On the third one, John finally asked what the ABV was.
Yeah, I was a little dizzy too.
I already got questions coming in from the chat room. I'm going to hold off a little bit on those. Let me take care of some business real quick so that we can just get rolling. If you're just joining us and maybe tuning in for the first time, there is a chat room available. It's a pain in the ass. I apologize for that. It doesn't. We're updating it as usual. But you can go log in. Don't register. Log in as a guest. Pick any name and put 2 numbers after it. Doesn't matter what it is. If you want to be, stupid. 007, put that in. That'll work. And then you get into the chat room. And that's the best way to get questions to us. So if you got questions about Belgians, which is going to be our main topic of discussion today, you can chat in those. You can also call 888-401-BEER. And you can talk directly to us or Vinnie and ask your questions that way. So yeah, there you go. I think that's all you need to know. Go to the chat room if you want to really participate. Sorry if it's not working for you. The coming weeks. That's all I know.
Yes.
All right. Let's see.
We're still working on that.
Let me recap. Yeah, we're still working. Although I talked to somebody, I think I'm planning on putting our website up Tuesday. I think I'm going to start tomorrow, and I'm not promising you it's going to be Tuesday, but I'm pretty much done with my part. I've built the website, and
took it upon yourself.
I took it upon myself. I built it myself. And now I've got the archive section ready to go. I got a buddy helping me put the archives. Well, that's what I'm doing tomorrow. He's helping me put all the archives up tomorrow, so every show is going to be available. I got some pictures that I'm going to put up. There's going to be a gallery from like my trip to the Portland Brew Fest. There's some studio pictures. I'm hoping Tuesday. I'm hoping.
I believe in you.
I'm going to work on it all day tomorrow. Tomorrow night I'm going to meet with this kid. He's going to help me put up the stuff so that I make sure that what I've done is going to show up properly on the other end. And I'm happy with it. I think it looks good, actually. Well done. I mean, it's not the best website I've ever seen in my life, but it's definitely not the worst. Like the one we have up right now, that's the worst website I've ever seen in my life. No,
but we're used to it.
It's pretty good.
It's familiar.
It is familiar. And you know what? Actually, some people did comment about our page. The one good thing about our page that's up now, which is just a splash page.
You can listen to us.
It's the easiest page on the planet. Like, it's cut and dry, right? You read what it says in the top, and you click the button that says listen, and that's it.
Yeah.
I've tried to mimic that on the new site, but because we're adding other features, you're going to have to become acquainted with it, but it's still going to be fairly easy to use. Your listen buttons are exactly the same, and what you've all been waiting for, the archive page, is hopefully going to be in full working order.
Will we be able to keep track of that? Maybe.
You mean like how many people are downloading it?
Curious.
Eventually, maybe not by Tuesday when I get it up. I mean, I'd like that to be possible. Captain Numbers over there wants to, and I agree, we need to know that. But right now, I was planning on not even putting the website up until I had finished every little thing 100%.
Well, this is our 5th time at this.
But I can't. If I wait for that, the thing's never going to go up.
That's true.
All right, so I'm going to put it up. It's got the main page that I'll be updating and telling you what's happening. There'll be a calendar. You can always look and see who's coming in. We'll be able to keep them updated about what our discussions are going to be, and then, like I said, the main thing, the archive page. So
I'm really proud of you.
We're hoping.
Well done.
We're hoping.
Well
like
done.
I said, I'm not guaranteeing anything because it's always that last part when I think it's all done that something happens with some other idiot I'm working with and it doesn't work.
So
that's your own fault.
It is always the other idiot. It's because that's how I like things.
Now you're the idiot.
But exactly. Now if it doesn't go up, I'm the idiot.
Yep.
And at least I'm happy because I can't cuss at the other people because they've offered their help. They're actually been very generous and just things happen, right? Yeah. But I can cuss at myself. So if it doesn't work on Tuesday, you can be sure I'll be standing in the mirror calling myself all sorts of names.
They have your email.
Yeah, and now you can go straight to me. And I'll still just say, what do you want? They're asking in the chat room, will they be podcasts?
You walked into that one.
They're going to be MP3s. I can guarantee you that they're going to be waves and MP3s. The podcast might take me another week. I contacted somebody about a program that I can get that will actually, because we haven't distributed our shows yet in podcasts. We just broadcast them streaming, and we archive them. You have to actually run them through a podcast program for them to be podcasts. So I'm in communication with a company who's talking about giving me their program that I just basically throw my MP3 into the program. It turns it into a podcast. Nice. So yes, podcasts. Tuesday, probably not podcasts, but let me get the archive page up, and then I'll make that my first priority is turning them into podcasts for you guys. And, you could probably do it yourself. If you download the MP3 onto your PC and you know how to use podcast type of things, you could probably turn it into a podcast yourself too. So, but that'll be my next priority. Let me just get the page up that it's downloadable and people can listen on their own time, and then podcasts, that's my next priority. All right?
Well done.
I'll tell you, I'm even skipping, I gotta put banners up on the page, right? And, I'm not a big fan of banners or anything, but we gotta pay for this stuff somehow. Right now, John and I are,
going broke.
Yeah. We're spending some cash, on this whole thing, and we need to make some revenue, and we're gonna come up with a couple different programs to do that.
Do a beer stand on the corner.
Yeah, we're just gonna sell our beer on the corner.
I meant to, say, I haven't gotten paid in weeks.
Yeah. Your check's
Doc,
in the
you're
mail.
retired.
Maybe you need to update your address with our, paycheck department.
That is?
You're on the IOU. Like 30 years.
Our paycheck department is that empty desk right over there, by the way, Doc. So just talk to them.
Donations, too.
So I'm even, what I'm saying, my point here is, I do have to put banners up on the page, but I'm even skipping that, just to get the page up. Because I don't have a banner program yet. We haven't gone out and really searched for the advertising we need, because I want to make sure everything's in place and our numbers are right and we're really offering a good service to our advertisers. So I'm even skipping that stuff for you guys, just to get it up there. So, no banners, nothing. So you should enjoy the website while it's fat-free. Because when I put it up, there's nothing there except for beer audio.
I like that fat-free.
It's totally fat-free.
Yeah.
But then in the coming months, I will bombard you with...
What's your waistline at now?
I think it's the same. We did it last week and it was the same. Daniela's not here this week
so you can't measure.
to measure my belly. Although
we'll measure beer bellies.
We'll have Silky and Nate do it. Vinny, we're going to have to measure your belly before you go, because we like to keep a running archive, and then when you come in the next time, we like to see how you've been doing in your training.
Yeah.
So, I see.
So we can treated you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. I think that's the business end of it. Last week we had Colin from Downtown Joe's. Just want to say thanks to him again.
That was a good show.
Yeah.
Very informative.
He was a cool guy, and we did get lots of information out. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Chris Graham, one of the owners at B3 and teaches at the Siebel Institute of Technology. Good archive. I don't know if you guys listened to that. It was a 3-hour show.
Yeah.
Wow.
I listened to it 3 times.
Chris had a few drinks. You could
yeah.
tell by the end of the show.
Yeah, he gets loosey-goosey.
That was nice.
Yeah.
So that was a cool show, and we talked all about refractometers. So that's going to be a good archive to check out.
Do you use a refract, Vinny?
A little bit, not really.
Okay.
I've got one. I tend to take a sample and then chill it, use a hydrometer.
Okay.
So, but
I wonder if it's going to become possible just to drink a sample of your beer and kind of know what your gravity's at. You know? Like, do you think anybody's that talented?
He probably is. You probably know by now. You brewed enough beer.
you know, I don't know. That's I can guess.
Yeah?
I can come pretty close.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's
Do you
where
have
I want to
samples
get.
of wort in the back you're going to test me on?
I brought a sample.
John brought a sample of wort. Yeah, we should have him drink it before you tell him what it's at,
Okay.
just to see. And I'm only asking that because I think that hydrometers and refractometers are all a pain in the ass to me, and I'd rather be able to just have a taste and go, perfect.
What are your?
You know?
We at Blind Pig, my first brewery,
Yeah.
10 years ago, we broke our hydrometer once, and we were so poor we couldn't even afford one.
Oh wow!
So we just went for like a month without one.
Did you?
Yeah.
And just assumed that it
Just
was
assumed
the
it was
same.
all good.
Yeah, very nice.
Tasted good every time.
That's all that matters,
So,
right?
I
Nobody
mean,
wants to know what percent it's at. Come on. Does it taste good? Yes.
think
Then
in the
it's
old
good.
days when they didn't have a thermometer, they just took their finger and put it in and went, it's probably good enough.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
So.
See? That's me. I'm old school.
Keep it
Too
I'm
much
going
science for you, buddy.
Yeah, I'm going back to the stick your finger in it days. You know? I like
think you
that.
still use that for a lot of things.
For a lot of different things, not just brewing. Whatever I can stick my finger in, just to see if it's right.
Yeah. You dirty man. You.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't come out stinkier than when it went in. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? All right.
Just shower you.
So today, like I said, we are with Vinnie Cilurzo, and he now owns and runs and brews at the Russian River Brewing Company. And I'm going to switch formats of today's show a little bit. Usually I wait to do the interview at the end of the show after we do a bunch of silly things. But I've trimmed the fat off of this show, and we're going to go right into the Vinnie interview and talk to him because he's got just a wealth of knowledge. And there's a lot of buzz about you right now, Vinnie, in the industry. You know, you might want to pretend you don't know that, but it would look cooler if you did that. But your name comes up an awful lot.
A lot of brewers know you.
Yeah. If you in my interviews that I did at the Oregon Beer Fest, I interviewed probably, I don't know, 10 different brewers and magazine guys, and one of my staple questions is, what are you drinking right now besides your beer? And almost everybody mentioned Vinnie's beer. They're like, well, of course Pliny. You know, we're drinking that. And if you ask a good question, who's brewing some good and original stuff right now, your name comes up almost every time. I don't know if it's because you are traveling around all the time and really getting to meet a lot of these people, or if your beer's traveling ahead of you, because just a lot of people are talking about you.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're traveling an awful lot this year.
Okay.
And I think I've been to the East Coast 4 times this
Really?
year so far. It's been a crazy schedule. I found out later, after the Portland Brewers Fest, that Pliny the Elder ran out on Saturday.
Yeah.
Which blew me away.
Yeah.
I saw Don Younger yesterday from the Horse Brass, and he was down for the Toronado party, and he goes, everyone was talking about it, and so it's very flattering. And
how many kegs was that?
12.
12 kegs in
12 kegs.
3 days, right?
Yes,
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Thursday, Friday, and I heard midday Saturday was gone.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had it on Friday.
Blew me away.
And I didn't bother waiting in lines on Saturday. So
no, I left Friday night, so
Okay.
I never even saw Saturday.
So.
You're listening to a bunch of guys talk about beer. The Brewcasters
on the Brewing Network.
I should remember to turn the microphones off next time we take a break.
Yeah, I was kind of humming. I'm sorry. You don't like my voice?
I think I was on too. I can't remember if I was talking during the break or not, but I like that. I think that way, like, what if we were just insulting our listeners during the break or something? Like,
that would never happen.
Bunch of idiots. And then we thought it was quiet. That's
Freaking chat room.
It's the stuff movies are made of.
We're learning.
No, we wouldn't do that.
No.
That's funny. You get a little insight into the studio. It probably sounded boring as hell.
Wasn't us, it was Vinnie.
Yeah. Chatting away.
I'll have to remember to turn that off next time. All right. So we're back here. We're with Vinnie Cilurzo from the Russian River Brewing Company, who is well known for a couple of different things, and one of them right now is his Belgian-style ales, which he's brewing in abundance and doing all sorts of experimental different things going on and producing some really great ones, becoming well known, I think, in the industry for that, as well as his hoppy beers. So I'm realizing that the way this discussion I think is going to go is it's going to be half Vinnie talk, half Belgian talk, all at the same time. I think I don't think we're going to be able to taste these Belgians and avoid talking about what they are and where they come from, while at the same time finding out about you.
That's fine.
Okay,
and we're starting with something that is our kind of staple.
Okay.
Damnation. That's our base Belgian beer. It's a 7% alcohol strong golden ale.
Okay.
And it's made with basically all Pilsner malt.
Okay.
And a little bit of sugar added, maybe 5 or 8% dextrose sugar.
Okay.
Very simple recipe. If we were to make it any stronger, I would probably say it was a triple. But it's a very dry beer.
Okay.
It's not sweet. It's hoppy.
It's light too.
And,
sugar just to boost up the alcohol content?
Yeah.
Okay.
And to add that dry effect with no unfermentables left, so that there's no sweetness. Most of our beers are dry. That is a focus in everything we do at Russian River. We want it to be dry beers for several reasons. One, in the brew pub, it's more food friendly. Okay. Even though we just do pizza, dry beer and dry wine for that matter, they're more food friendly.
Okay.
It's a much cleaner beer on the body. The body has a hard time digesting unfermentable sugars, right, which translates into hangover.
That's what killed me last week.
And when you drink sweet beers or sweet, foofy drinks at the bar or whatever, and that's why I don't drink those. They're just a reason to get a hangover.
Gotcha.
And, so dry product is really a baseline. And a lot of times our beers end up tasting very light bodied because of that. And they're very light and that goes for our hoppy beers and our Belgian lineup. But being bone dry is just such a great way to drink beer and make beer in my book.
Okay. It's a good beer. So you call this Damnation Strong Golden Ale. It's a Belgian double though?
It's not. It's a strong golden ale.
That's all it is. Okay.
That's a category.
Yeah, that's a category. The most famous strong golden ale in the world is going to be Duvel.
Okay.
We didn't necessarily pattern this after Duvel, but it was the inspiration.
Okay.
And but truly the first American-made strong golden ale I tasted was Prankster from North Coast, that basically said to me, you know what, this can be done here in the States, and Prankster's a pretty great beer in my book, and it started out as a homebrew recipe, as most of my beers did, and do, and I was starting out using I wanted to make an amber double kind of beer, and when you buy the candy sugar, the Belgian candy sugar from the homebrew shop, it has different color Lavibon, color levels. Yeah. And there's light and amber and dark. And so I think I was using amber or dark, thinking that it was going to add a bunch of color, and it didn't add any color, and it just made this blonde beer. So that's actually how the recipe was created. And in the end, it was like, well, this is pretty damn good. And I brewed it 5 or 6 more times, and couldn't stop brewing it, and I loved the flavor, and I was like, okay, we'll chuck the idea of making it amber colored or a double style. Let's just leave it as a golden. So the idea shifted, but we didn't have a name for it yet. So I sat on this homebrew recipe for a year. This is why we were out at Corbel in our old life, as I'll say. And I was driving home one day, and there's this band, it's a swing band, Squirrel Nut Zipper, and they have this song Hell. And in the middle of the song, they spell out damnation. They go D and the A and the M and the N-A-T-I-O-N. And I was like, boom, that's it. And that's where the name came from. Was that. Because, a strong golden ale in Belgium, there's Duvel, which translates roughly to the devil, and there's Lucifer and Satan and Delirium Tremens. And so it's kind of a tradition in Belgian culture to give the beer kind of a curious, silly, diabolical name.
Or satanic, you could say.
It could be that too, yeah.
You're going to hell.
So then we made, then it instantly was like, Redemption. That's going to be the next one. And so we went to Belgium and got inspiration for it. And so now we make Redemption, which is a Belgian single. So it's kind of the little sister to Damnation.
Okay.
It's a 4.8%. And we're going to start bottling that here in the next few months. And when we bottle that, we're going to bottle it just like we would normally, except we're going to spike the bottling tank with Brettanomyces, wild yeast.
Okay.
So when you drink the beer young, it's going to taste just like it does at our brew pub, which is a very light-bodied, malty, 4.8% alcohol blonde beer. But if you age it for 6, 8, 9 months out, it's going to start pulling out a Brett character.
Okay.
So it's going to be one beer initially, and it's going to turn into something else
nice.
down the line.
Two beers.
That's a good idea.
Would you blend that later?
Say that again?
Would you blend it with another one of your lambics?
No.
Okay.
We're just going to pitch, and if we get around to it today, I brought a bottle of that too.
Yeah,
and taste it with its Brett form. So
This particular beer is really tasty, actually. Just a little description of it also. It's got nice carbonation. It's very carbonated, I would say, which is true to style, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very, very true to style. Pretty nice, head on it.
Yeah, tons of head retention, and also you get that lace going down the side of the glass.
Yeah, it's more malt. And there aren't really too many Belgian beers that are real hop forward.
Okay.
But this is probably a pretty balanced
there you go again.
hop in. I know. I'll use the word. I more just like to give the East Coasters crap about it. But this is 100% bottle conditioned, and to me that's key to making good Belgian beers.
Okay.
Draft Belgian beers aren't as good, and I'll be the first to admit that our Belgians are better in bottles than on draft at our brew pub.
Why is that, you think?
I think the bottle conditioning lends towards a whole nother level of complexity, and we've purposefully picked a special yeast to bottle condition with. We don't just use the same yeast that we brew with, and most of our Belgians are brewed with the Trappist yeast from White, which I think is 500 or something very similar to that. Although we have a private strain of that White banks for us. That's if someone was to homebrew, trying to hit some of the flavors that we do. That's what it is. I even brought my White Labs catalog today because if yeast came up, I would be able to hit the numbers because I only know them by name and But what we do to finish the bottle conditioning, and we do this with all of the beers, the Belgians that we bottle. We actually use a wine yeast that started out as a native wild yeast in Sonoma County. Okay. And so after we filter the beer, we pitch sugar and yeast to the tank. And this yeast is from a winery called William Selliams, and they're known for making fabulous Pinot Noirs. Okay. And so this is a wild yeast that started out at a Zinfandel vineyard, though, that William Selliams eventually picked up. So I kind of like to think that there's a little bit of Sonoma County in every bottle, because the bottle conditioned yeast started out truly as a wild yeast that was on the skins of grapes that they, the winemakers then cultured, sent it to a lab, and then I've got my hands on it. Okay. But it also, we do that so we can raise the temperature of the bottle conditioning and get it up to 75, 80, 85 degrees sometimes. Wow. And it's that increased temperature in bottle conditioning that really helps create a whole nother level of complexity. The yeast is adding a whole nother level of flavors that weren't there from the main yeast that did the primary fermentation. So, is there a length of time that you leave your actual beer bottled conditioned at the temperature? Yeah, we bottle condition for typically 2 weeks and to be honest, our warehouse isn't the best place to bottle condition because it fluctuates quite a bit. Okay. Long term, we want to build a warm room, and then that's a part of growing our business, though, is trying to make better beer as we go along as we can afford it. You know, and we don't have space for a warm room. Maybe in a year or so we can afford to rent some more space and put a warm room in and be a little more dialed in and more direct. But we bottle condition. It doesn't leave the brewery for a month, basically. Okay. So this is about a 28-day, 25-day process cycle, start to finish, and then we bottle it, and it sits for another month before it leaves. So we're how does it age in the bottle? Everything that we did out at Corbel, damnation-wise, we would always bottle, and it would age for years, 3 years. And we have something on the side of the bottles. If you look, there's a set of hourglasses on there. And in our world, an hourglass represents 1 year. You can go to our website and get all this information. And what's the website? Might as well get it. RussianRiverBrewing.com. Okay. And so that's an indicator to a consumer to look at our bottles and say, oh, well, this will age for 2, 3, 4 years, whatever the number of hourglasses are on there. Okay. And then we also have batch numbers on every bottle. Nice. And then on our website is our bottle log. And you can go and check out the bottle log and see that, oh, well, batch 1 damnation, we undercarbonated because it was the first batch. Okay. And we didn't quite know how much sugar to add. Right. And so everything has a batch number on it. And that's mainly for the beer enthusiasts to essentially be able to age our beers, because these beers will age, especially when we get into some of these barrel-aged beers. I stole the idea from Rob Todd from Allagash Brewery.
Okay.
And then he and I were sitting on a beer panel at the Spirit of Belgium, which is a big homebrew conference that the Burp Homebrew Club back on the East Coast puts on. And so I was up there explaining our whole thing, and I said, well, I've got to admit I stole the idea from Rob Todd, who was sitting next to me, and I said, but I took it one step further. We added all this stuff onto our website. So we didn't just have the batch number listed on the bottle. We then take the information, brew date, bottle date, and everything I just said. And then he looked at me and goes, well, I'm going to steal that from you and use it. So we shook on it, and that was good.
That's a good idea. It's kind of a wine connoisseur's approach to good beer, where you can really find out when, what's its peak, when you'd want to drink it and when it's past that.
Or you could actually look up the things and find out which batch number you would really want to go hunting for.
Yeah. Exactly. And these are cork finished too, we should mention. So they're very traditional in the look, cage, hood and wire, just like a champagne bottle would have.
Okay.
That from your Corbel days?
A little bit, yeah. And just, I like tradition. Yeah. There's something cool.
They do look pretty.
There's something cool about a pop instead of a...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So.
Let me get to a couple questions from the chat room.
You don't need an opener.
If I may. We were talking about, how dry the beers are and good food pairing that way.
This goes great with cheese.
Yeah? You guys are eating, we got a little fancy cheese going on here,
and
too.
You know what? This and this is awesome together.
It's perfect.
From
I'm going to have to do a little bit. What, you got a little brie there? Is that what kind of cheese you're eating? Looks like brie.
It's that gooey stuff.
Yeah, I think it's some good stinky cheese. I think it's probably a brie of some sort.
You are the stinky guy.
Yeah?
So.
Someone wants to know what do you consider dry in a final gravity perspective? What's a dry beer?
In my world, 1.012 or lower is going to be dry.
Okay.
There's a lot of craft beer out there that finishes above that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting as a homebrewer to go out and buy some, craft beers that you see that finish high in gravity, and I'm not knocking those beers. Sure. Some of them sell, just tons and tons of cases. And
so they're basically a lot higher than you would expect them to be
out of a dry beer.
Yeah. Sure. But so that's that. I mean, even going back to the hoppy beer, Pliny the Elder finishes at 1.012 or 1.011.
Okay.
For beer that's that hoppy and bitter, that's really dry. Because most brewers go the opposite. They say, "Oh, I'm gonna leave the finishing, the terminal gravity higher." And
it's a balance thing again.
And the conventional thinking in Belgian brewing is that Belgian beers are sweet, and Belgian beers aren't that sweet. When you go to Belgium, they're pretty dry beers.
Yeah.
It's just that they ferment the beer so warm that you get fruit accentuated flavors.
Okay.
But they finish them dry.
Okay.
And the Belgians do believe that. And Stan Hieronymus, who is the editor of RealBeer.com, he's writing the next of the series for Brewers Publications, and it's Brew Like a Monk. And so I've been involved with him interviewing and stuff like that. And we contributed a strong golden ale recipe to it. And that was what he came away in looking at American-made Belgian beers and then the real deal of Belgium, that their beers are dry,
right.
and most American brewers are making them too sweet. If you're trying to be traditional, So.
I finished a hoppy blonde ale I brewed, one of my best brews, at below 10. It was like 9 or 8. And the finish was so dry that it actually felt like it just evaporated off of my tongue after you took a drink. It just vanished. It was gone.
We'll just wait till we get to a couple of these next beers.
Okay.
The Sanctification is, I think, what finishes at 1.008. The Temptation, which is with Brettanomyces wild yeast, that finishes at 1.006. And it's not going to ferment anymore, though. We know that.
Right.
So
my tongue is dry already.
I got a couple sugar questions from the chat room.
I have a question too.
What types of sugars do you use in your Belgians? You mentioned real quick.
Yeah, we use dextrose, which is corn sugar.
Okay.
And we used to use when we started out, I tested everything with what's it called? Belgian candy sugar.
Okay.
Which is expensive as all heck, and I couldn't. From a professional standpoint, there's a business aspect.
Yeah.
And, brewers that say, or brewery owners that say, oh, we spare no expense, you know, they do. You have to look at cost of goods. And any brewery owner that doesn't look at cost of goods
isn't going to be an owner very long.
Isn't, yeah. And, it doesn't mean you have to use cheaper ingredients.
Yeah.
But there is, if you can, in my world, and I'll be the first to say it, if I can find a like ingredient that, in this case in sugar, there's no difference in flavor profile. And so we started out with that, and then we went to turbinado sugar, which works pretty good. And I do like using turbinado sugar in our darker Belgian beers. So we make some darker and amber colored Belgians that I still use turbinado, because the turbinado really lends this great, rich, and it's not a clean flavor, which is nice. And it's a little bit dusty and dirty in flavor. But on the lighter colored Belgians, we just go with straight dextrose. It's inexpensive, and turbinado sugar is very inexpensive as well. And now you can buy it in somewhat of a bulk quantity. I mean, you don't have to go to Starbucks anymore and steal like 100 packs. And,
I've seen it at the grocery store too.
Yeah, it's at the grocery. Yeah, and it's it's coming in like 1 pound container. So for homebrewers, turbinado sugar is great, and it's turbinado sugar is raw and unwashed. It's basically an unrefined sugar. It's not as processed.
It's got molasses component to it.
Okay, so that's that not clean flavor that you're getting out of it.
It's basically raw sugar.
Yeah, and I like it. I like it a lot. And we used to use it in Damnation, but eventually we found that we were really wanting a very clean, crisp flavor in the Damnation, so we've switched. But those are really the choices.
What about Starlight beet sugar? You ever use anything like that?
I believe, if I remember correctly, Rob Todd from Alleygash has that in his one of his new beers, and he told me about it. I've never used it though.
Okay,
but I'm not sure if that's the one. There's some sugar that he used that comes packed in some other ingredient. I mean, it's crazy, but I'm not sure if that's it or not, but I've never used that.
Okay.
So.
Fair enough. John, you got a question?
Yeah. Do you bottle condition, like, once your fermentation or primary finishes out, do you stop it at a certain point and then add your dry yeast to your bottles?
Yeah.
Or do you add sugar back to it?
Once, our basic process is fermentation's complete, there's no more activity.
Okay.
And let's take Damnation, for example. It starts at 1.066 or 1.067, finishes down at 1.011, 1.012, somewhere like that. So basically 1011 or 1012. It's a 7% roughly in that range. We chill it for about 2 weeks at 32 degrees, get the yeast to fall out. And then at that point we filter it. It's funny, it's the only beer we do filter. And then we add back a liquid slurry of yeast and sugar.
Okay. And that's your wine yeast that you're
adding back. The wine yeast that you add back. So if you try to steal our yeast from the bottom of our bottle, it's not, we haven't removed all of the Trappist yeast, the white Trappist yeast, but a good portion of it's been removed through the filter. And you're going to end up fermenting with a wine yeast and not a,
how many microns
yeast?
How many microns do you usually filter down to?
For this we filter to 3. Which isn't that.
No, it's not that.
That's not, too fine. Again, it's a flavor profile. We tried it going unfiltered for a while, and there was just too much of a muddy flavor going on between the old yeast and the new yeast. So, but, and what's interesting, the bottle condition that we learned, I guess the hard way initially, is that in homebrewing, it's, the old standard 3/4 cup per 5 gallon, which works pretty damn well on a 5 gallon level, and that works out to be, I think, 0.8 ounces per gallon. I think that's how it works out if you equate it out and break it down. And we're now at like 0.96 or something. So it's not
linear, it doesn't scale
linear.
Up,
thank you. That's the word. We had to end up adding more, but when we started bottling, we didn't want to be over. It would have been death to be over.
Yeah.
Under, we could live with being a little bit undercarbonated.
Yeah.
And then we went through a cork phase. We actually, if you look at the sanctification here, guys, it's a different cork than, and our old cork is like a real traditional champagne cork, where it looks just like a champagne cork. The new ones, are much lighter, and it's just basically cork dust that's been glued together, and then with a silicone seal. And this
it almost looks like a synthetic cork.
Yeah, and the new corks aren't synthetic; they are natural, but it's been designed specifically for our Belgian bottle, and our Belgian bottle is the same one that Chimay and Duvel and Amagang and Unibrew. So we kind of got clued in that, hey, there's a cork made specifically for our bottle. And then all of our specialty Belgian beers go into these little tiny champagne 375 milliliter bottles.
Does that preserve your beer from oxidizing long term if you were to age it out? You think just a tighter cork on it, or
the tighter cork does? Yeah,
okay.
We've had trouble with some of our batch 1 Damnation, and I think we say that on our website that was short on CO2 in some cases because there was leaks.
Right.
Gotcha. A couple more questions about. Actually, one might be a comment about the dry and gravities. I guess the first question, it looks like, is 006 okay? And do you spike with PGA?
What was the P?
I'm not sure I understand that either.
006, say it again?
Yeah, 1.006. It's with a question mark, so I think he's wondering if that's an okay. But you're saying under 10, so
yeah, that's awesome.
That's really dry.
I mean, one of our goals in Damnation is that we get it drier.
Okay.
I'd like to see it get a little bit drier than this. Maybe not 1.006. I'd like to see it constantly get to like 1.008. So just a couple points lower than where we're at now, a few points lower.
How would you do that?
And we'll probably work with maybe a little more sugar, more
percentage-wise.
Yeah, and less malt. If I'm to be critical on my own beer, there's a little bit on Damnation. There's a little bit of a, and it's way in the back, and I'm being super critical, but it's a little bit of a vegetative flavor, which is from the Pilsner malt.
Okay.
And we've been dancing around trying different Pilsner malts, but we're also adjusting our kettle boil. And right now, this batch 5 is what we're drinking, was a 75-minute boil.
Okay.
And so I'm wondering if we're getting a tiny little bit of DMS because, which DMS is a cooked vegetable flavor, because I've cut 15 minutes off the boil. And we've done that to try to keep the color super light, because the longer we boil, the darker it's going to get.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword with the Pilsner malt.
Yeah. What was the second one? The P?
The second part is, do you spike with PGA? And I don't even know what that is.
I don't know.
It's a pure grain alcohol. It was a joke. Thank you. That's what it said. You should spike it with PGA if you don't. Yeah. Okay, the other thing is a comment that I'm not sure I understand either. I wonder if it's another joke. I don't think that below 148 you can get the proper enzyme activity. Is the comment.
As far as a malt rest.
Ask if they can clarify about that.
As far as the mash rest.
Yeah, that's all he said. See if you can get a little clarification.
Is that a pre-boil gravity reading, or?
No, that's a mash rest temperature.
Yeah.
Oh, 140. I think it's 140.
I wonder if that was actually something else going on.
So that was it 148, meaning like that was the temperature, I think.
Is that your mash temp, or?
Our mash temp for Damnation is 151.
Oh, okay.
And we mash Redemption at about 148.
Okay.
So Redemption is lighter bodied and obviously lower in alcohol too, which, as I said, Redemption's a little sister to Damnation, 4.8% alcohol. And we don't mash anything lower than 148. So I don't agree with that, though. I know.
Do you ever exceed 151?
I know breweries that go at like 146.
Oh, wow.
And make a really light, beer.
Right.
And a brew pub that maybe isn't a market that isn't as advanced as our market is. We are so fortunate in the Bay Area and North Bay, where I'm from, to have the beer culture we have.
Absolutely.
And I mentioned earlier, I travel a lot this year, and it's crazy getting out to some parts of the country and tasting what they have there. And there's still areas of the country where there aren't craft beer at all.
Right.
And so some markets have to make a real light beer.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I mean, it's not what we drink.
Yeah.
But I understand where they're coming from a business standpoint.
Yeah, to have to do that.
To have to do that, and it's a transition beer.
Yeah.
And the great parallel is the wine industry. People start out, a lot of people started out drinking white Zinfandel.
Yeah.
And then they moved on to Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnay, and then from there they maybe try reds, and they start with a light red, and you rarely go backwards with wine, and I find the same with beer.
Yeah.
And the craft beer industry is up 7% from last year, and all signs so far this year say that the first 6 months of this year we're up 7% for the first 6 months. So the craft beer industry is on this great ride right now, but it's not like it was back in the I guess that was the mid-90s when it was double-digit growth. I mean, like 30-40% growth every year, and every brother and sister and family were trying to get in the industry thinking that they were going to make a ton of money.
Right. Yeah.
But
it's also, even though it may not be that big, 7% is also coupled with a decline in the big beer industry.
Yeah.
In your Budweiser and your Coors and your major industries, they're actually experiencing one of their first declines in years.
In years. And in all, I think, it's a trend that's going to continue to go, but it's a healthy growth. Yeah. And what's more important is that the craft beer industry there's been sort of a calling out, and those breweries that weren't making good beer are no longer in, or there's very few breweries now that aren't making good beer anymore. Right. And there's been a resurgence in homebrewing, in the last 5 years too. I think it seemed that for a while there was a little bit of a dip, and now it seems homebrewing's really strong too. So
it's coming back quite a bit.
But it all comes down to quality, and that's that's why we homebrew. It's why professional brewers do what they do, because people want more. Yeah. And it's it's the good beer, the good wine, the good food. It's good. It's everything artisan and
right. What are you trying to push as a brewer? Like, where do you see yourself 10 years from now, Russian River?
It's funny because Tommy Arthur from Pizza Port and I talk a lot about what's next, where, the double IPA thing is already it's happening, and I've been a part of it. It's kind of weird to be sort of noted as being the first person to ever brew a double IPA to create a style, which I think is crazy. Yeah. I've done the wet hop thing a lot, and we're still growing hops. In fact, we're harvesting this Thursday, so nice. I'm recruiting. I need tons of people to come help me pick hops.
I'm harvesting tomorrow, but I've only got 2.
And it's a great beer, and these barrel aged beers we're doing and using Brett, and people are scared homebrewers are scared to use Brettanomyces and bacterias and stuff, and rightly so. I understand where they're coming from, but so what's in the future, I think a lot more barrel beers, and getting them accessible. I would venture to say that I hope that in maybe 5 years when we have a production brewery, maybe Temptation will be available year round as it's a barrel beer that is accessible, that's maybe not quite as expensive as it is right now for us, but a lot of stuff with that, and more importantly, I think is getting our beers out in the bottle, in non-Belgians, but not just getting them out so they're stable and that they have good ageability. That's maybe where you may see us as a brewery focusing more on putting a good bottling line in, and that's why we don't bottle Pliny the Elder, is that we couldn't do it justice right now. The beer would deteriorate in the bottle too hard. Gotcha. And I see too many other breweries doing this, where they're bottling beer at whatever cost, and or at no cost for that matter. And the hops just drop out, and that's why we only bottle Belgian beers right now, because they do age well, they bottle well, and they are a little more forgiving, to be totally honest about it.
I think that's a smart move. We've talked about this before on the show, where the beer that you produce and then the beer that ends up getting distributed are very often two different things. But you really only get one chance sometimes, right? I mean, I'm sometimes a little more forgiving, but not very. I'm only forgiving by length of time. So, for example, if I try somebody's beer, like say your Pliny that was bottled, it's not. But for example, if I tried it and I didn't like it very much, I wouldn't be buying another Pliny for a good 5 or 6 years before I would say, okay, let's see what's happening now. Yeah. So But I think you're right that a lot of other breweries aren't waiting around for that shot, because they're kind of feeling like, hey, if we don't distribute, what are we going to do? We're not going to make it anywhere. So,
and I've learned a lot from the wine industry, and I really do try to look to the wine industry and see that a good product's gonna sustain, and I know the customer base will wait, and they'll be around when we come out with it, and I know that our beers, when we do bottle the non-Belgians, we want to put them out and have the integrity. And there is still some some beer being put out through the craft beer industry that that doesn't have ageability. And when I mean ageability, I mean that it needs to at least have a shelf life of a certain period of time to let it go through the distribution channels and that sort of thing. So I hope that that's what we can do long term is make a very stable product. And I consider myself more of an artistic brewer and not as much of a technical brewer. I have very little education in brewing. Everything is hands-on home brewing. Okay. I've taken a few classes at Davis, read a lot of books. But I'll be the first to admit that I'm not a very technical brewer. Okay. And
trial and error,
and a lot of trial and error. And but what I do know that I'm good at is I truly understand the flavor give and take between hops and malt, and that's I think where the artistic side comes in. And when we do build a production brewery in a few years and get distribution ramped up, the first thing I'll do is hire a very technically skilled brewer who has the background to bottle beer and make it technically sound, and also run a lab.
Right.
Because a lab is the backbone to good technically sound,
consistency,
made, consistent beer, and that's why Sierra Nevada Pale Ale is so flippin' good in the bottle.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether, and I do that when I travel.
Science.
That's my it's my little game I play with myself. Anywhere I go in the country when I'm out doing beer events speaking, I'll always buy a bottle of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale and see how good it is. And it's always like it is back home.
Nice.
It's so good. And that's my inspiration is,
I drank Heineken on the East Coast. It was great. West Coast, not good.
Really?
Yeah.
Someone wants you to speculate. Do you think that craft beer will ever hold a 10% market share?
Yeah, that's the big thing in the industry. 2 years ago at the craft beer conference, Kim Jordan, who her and her husband own New Belgium, she made the statement that 10% market share. And I actually do. Yeah. I can really see the ball rolling.
Okay.
And I can see how, it's a lot to get there.
Yeah.
Because, you're talking about someone did an analysis once of having to build 20 breweries the size of Sierra Nevada to get there. Yeah. So it probably won't happen in our lifetime. But what I do think is more important than that, and I think the 10% market share is a little bit of a daunting number right now. Mm-hmm. But I think what's more important is just profitability per barrel. Is that if the consumers want to keep drinking craft beer, the breweries need to be profitable. Because if we're not profitable, there's that's what business is to be profitable.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So looking at saying, okay, well, we're profitable and we're doing good and the whole industry is doing good. I think that's more important than trying to hit this goal, because it can almost be too overwhelming, and breweries could start doing crazy things like dropping their prices.
Yeah.
And that's the worst thing for our industry is price posting and, Safeway with their scan back cards and that sort of thing. And that kills the profitability.
Integrity.
And it does. It really hurts the integrity. And there's, that's something we don't do. We don't give discounts. We don't do anything. We don't price post, which is legal discounting in the state of California. We won't do that. So.
Do you see Belgians taking you into the future?
That's really that's where we're focusing on. We know that hoppy beers will be a big part of our component, and 40% of our distribution is Belgian, or production is Belgian beers or barrel aged. So it's quite a bit, and we want to really grow this segment. And we just opened Sanctification, which is
I'm just looking at the bottle now. It's a totally different flavor beer than the other one.
It's another 750 milliliter bottle with a cork in it. It's 100% fermented with a wild yeast called Brettanomyces.
Okay.
And Brett for short. We'll just shorten it to Brett. We can look at the bottle. There's a ring on the top where the beer line was. That's the film.
And you can see it in the glass as well.
And the film yeast forms on the neck of the bottle. And
is that because it's fermenting in the bottle?
It's continuing to ferment, and the Brett is continuing to work. So the Brettanomyces is an oxidizing wild yeast that ferments at a very slow pace. And if this beer is kept out at room temperature, it'll get overcarbonated.
Oh.
And
how long would that take?
I know there's bottles on the East Coast that are.
Gotcha.
So I shipped some beer back to an event I did back there, and they were pretty lively.
Gotcha.
One bottle, the cork was pushing, so I decided to do I just won Daytona 500 NASCAR. I shook the bottle, and the cork shot up like 50 feet in the air.
Beautiful.
Beer went everywhere, and I don't think
cheered.
the beer stewards were too happy that I was just like acting like I was Jeff Gordon or something,
Right.
But it was funny. Yeah, it's one of those things you always wanted to try with a champagne bottle. But this is as I know it, there's only 2, maybe 3 beers in the world fermented with 100% Brettanomyces. So conventional brewing is you use a yeast called Saccharomyces, which is used to ferment beer, wine, make bread, so on and so forth. Brettanomyces is considered an enemy. It's the antichrist of yeast. And if you read the back label of Sanctification, it says, "Who's afraid of the big bad Brett?"
Nice.
Winemakers are.
Keep your enemies closer.
So I say to winemakers, you have to embrace the wild yeast.
Yeah.
And the flavor is a little tart and sour. And when we started making this, we started with 3 different strains of Brett. And Brett's really interesting because there's all these winemakers don't even know this. When they come in and I start talking about this strain of Brett or that strain of Brett. And Brettanomyces is hard to describe because it's in winemaking. It's described as barnyard, horsey, leathery, earthy.
Moldy.
A winemaker from Southern California once described it as wet dog in a phone booth, which is the best description. I don't know what the hell it means, but it's cool. Wet dog in a phone booth.
Yeah.
And he had this Texas draw in his accent.
I'm going to write a song that's called that.
Yeah. So there's all the different strains. So we started out fermenting this with 3 different strains, and then we cut one of them out. One of the strains, called Anomalous, is very pineapple-y.
Okay.
And Pizza Port in Solana Beach, Tommy Arthur did a collaborative beer with Peter Buchart from New Belgium, and they called it Mo Betta Bretta.
Nice.
Using 100% Brett, but they used 100% of the Anomalous, and it was just it's a great beer. It's very complex, probably a lot more complex than ours is.
Someone wants to know what strain is in Sanctification.
And Sanctification is now a blend of Brucellanus, which is the main strain for Orval, which is a Belgian Trappist beer, and it's got a second strain called Lambicus.
Okay.
Lambicus, Brucellanus is a very straightforward. It gives you the kind of barnyardy, leathery character, and then Lambicus is a strain that's more like musty cherry pie. Lambicus is more what you'd associate with lambic beer, hence the name. And White Labs just released a 4th strain. I think there's 5 or 6 strains that are cultured, but they just released one. I brought a White Labs book, so I'm going to have to cheat here. Clausenini, maybe I think it is. But then as we started to drop out the Anomalous strain, we had 2. It still was missing something. So what it ended up being was an acidity, and we didn't want to just add lactic or phosphoric acid, which is kind of cheating. So we spiked the fermentation with lactobacillus, which is a true bacteria, which in its own right should be.
Scared.
Yeah, shouldn't be. Yeah, you should be scared when you're adding that sort of stuff. But and that really made the beer. Adding the lacto to give it a nice sharp acidity.
What part of the fermentation did you throw that in?
Primary.
Right at the beginning? Because, that can go.
How do you keep your brewery sterile? How do you keep it separate from your ales?
That's the main question we get from brewers and winemakers. We have totally separate sets of hoses, pumps, filler parts, gaskets, everything. We literally have 2 of everything.
You have 2 breweries.
Yeah, I mean, other than the tanks, like the Sanctification, we'll do a primary fermentation in one of the regular fermenters that we have, but we have separate valves. I mean, anything that's porous, we have double of. They get switched out.
Okay.
Well, all these descriptors of we've all heard them: the horse blanket, the wet dog thing. We've all heard of that one, and it just sounds horrible.
Yeah.
But
it tastes great.
But when you taste this beer, almost everybody has tasted that flavor in beer before. And if you tasted a Belgian beer, you tasted that flavor, and that's the flavor that it is. Now you associate that. It's not such a scary flavor.
Yeah.
And I've tasted that before, so that's what that is.
And I just got a sample of beer from Goose Island Brewery in Chicago. They're a 100,000 barrel brewery or 50,000 barrel. They're a big operation. They just made a Brettanomyces aged beer.
Nice.
They ran it through their bottling line. Jennifer from Squatters in Salt Lake City, a little brew pub there. She just made a Brett beer. I think she did 100% fermented. So there is now more than just 2 or 3 of us doing it, but it is happening.
Yeah.
And brewers are getting less scared. But
it's a weird, for lack of a better term, it's a weird style. And if you're a beer drinker and have never had one of these, the first time you try it definitely takes some getting used to. But you can really pick out several different flavors that are in the beer. Yep. And that's what I have come to like about these kind of beers, is that it's really a complex beer.
Yeah, it's super complex. There's lemon flavors and it's like lemon zest and a lot of fruit. It's very refreshing. It's
and a lot of things that are hard to describe.
Yeah.
Exactly, because you want to say sour, but it's not really a sour. It's mixed with sweet as well, and there's really so many different flavors. It's it's exciting to drink because you're not just dealing with malt and hops.
Yeah.
And to get into a beer like that is
it's not an overwhelming flavor that you take a big swig of. It's like, yeah. Maybe 3 or 4 more. I'll get used to it. No, it's like, wow. Oh, that's different.
Yeah.
And take another drink. I'm going to explore some more.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with the malt backbone in this.
Yeah.
Because there's bugs in it and it's got a lot of body to it.
And we always call them bugs. That's good that you say that, because we always use the term. But, the new White Labs is, Clausini. And that's a basic version of Anomalous. And it's supposedly the, strain that Old Stock Ales had. And Michael Jackson, the famous beer writer, tells this great story about, as a kid, he would walk by the pubs and he would smell this, what he now knows to be Brettanomyces, because all the beers back when he was a kid had Brett. They were quote unquote infected, because the breweries didn't have any sanitation control.
Gotcha.
And so now he knows that's what it was. And the best like layman way term to describe Brettanomyces, and I use this all the time when out doing educational public speaking stuff. And this was Michael Jackson saying this again too. Saccharomyces, which is conventional yeast, that's like a dog. You can train it. You can, teach it to fetch or sit, or heel, whatever.
Yeah.
And it'll do it. You can basically, teach this dog what you want to do, or what you want it to do. On the other hand, Brettanomyces is like a cat. If you tell it to come here, it's going to run the other way. If you pick it up, it's going to scratch you.
Gotcha.
If you, try to pet it, it's going to, jump on you or whatever, and
fur all over you.
And it's a great analysis from a very simplistic layman term, because it really is. Brettanomyces is like a cat, and Saccharomyces is like a dog.
Okay.
One's trainable and one's not.
If I get a cat, I'm going to name it.
Yeah,
Brett.
I decided to buy Brettanomyces.com too. It still doesn't go anywhere, but we own it. We own it just, and I've been meaning to link it to our website just because.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool.
That is cool. That's very cool.
All right, I want to do a couple things here, Vinny. I got a ton of questions stacking up here. So I got one question that you can take time to answer right now, because it's for me. I like this. It's a question for the rookie, which is me, and I like that. They want to ask for my sake. You can take some time on this one, but the other one I'm going to fire them at you, and give me quick answers after that. So here's the first one, though. It's have Vinny explain the different yeasts for Belgians for the rookie, which is me.
All right. Essentially, non-Belgian yeast, you can't ferment warm. If you do, you're going to get, let's talk ales. Let's not worry about lagers, but ales, if you ferment ales warm, over 68 degrees Fahrenheit, you're going to get diacetyl, which is butterscotch buttery, which I can't stand.
Okay.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, I don't like that. So
I brewed a batch of butterscotch.
You get into, but very interestingly is, Red Hook has built their entire profile around the slight.
And that's what I was trying to brew, but it just went too far.
Yeah, so that's very difficult to keep diacetyl in check. I just don't like it personally.
Do you do your Trappist ale at 70 plus?
Yeah, so that's where the Belgian yeast can come into effect.
Okay.
You can ferment these things as warm as, into the, if you're doing a Saison, DuPont Saison, and, farmhouse beer from Belgium is fermented at like 80 something or other.
Wow.
And so some of these Belgians will ferment, and if you look at White Labs or Y yeast, fermentation temperatures, they're usually all 68 plus degrees.
Okay.
And deamination is a pretty complex temperature. It starts out low, and then we shut off the refrigeration, and it ramps up, and by the time it's done, it's up into the high 70s.
Okay.
And sanctification, what we're drinking, fermented at 80 degrees. So it's a very warm fermentation.
Same yeast?
And,
same ale yeast?
Well, the sanctification was the Brett.
Oh, the Brett.
So, so the Belgian yeast, I was talking about this earlier, Belgian yeast will lend a very fruit-driven flavor, through warm fermentation, but the beer still can be dry. It doesn't mean, so you can mash, your grain at, 151, 152, which is pretty low.
Okay.
And not be too high, get a dry beer. You're going to get a light-bodied beer. But most Belgian beer is light-bodied. There isn't a lot of, unless you get into like Westvleteren 12 or Rochefort 10, these big, giant, massive 10, 11, 12% alcohol beers.
Okay.
Anything at 12% alcohol is going to be big.
Yeah.
Because the alcohol is going to lend body. So that's, that's a quick descriptor of the yeast. I use very little Y yeast. I really am a White Labs guy.
Okay.
I've been buying yeast from Chris White since before White Labs even existed. I used to buy it from him.
Love's Garage.
Yeah, actually, he was propagating it out of the biology lab at UCSD, and I would call him a couple weeks ahead of time, and he would propagate it. And he was only making yeast for ourselves. Pizza Port and then Home Brew Mart. It's a little home brew store down in San Diego. And cool. So I would drive to La Jolla when he would call and tell me he was ready. And this was before the cell phone age. So I'd call him from the payphone. It was a total drug deal, it looked like. I'd call him from the payphone down at the mobile station at the bottom of UCSD. And okay, I'm at the bottom of the hill. So I would drive up the hill, and then I would give him he'd give me a brown bag with the yeast in it, and I'd lay him cash, there's $200.
That's brilliant.
And he and I were both so busy because he was getting his degree is in, like, his PhD is like DNA toxicology or something like that. Something you could use in like the O.J. Simpson case or whatever. Yeah. But so that's talking White Labs, the Trappist yeast I've used a lot. The Abbey is 530, I believe.
Mm-hmm. That has a higher alcohol tolerance.
Yeah, and it does. And it's funny because Lisa and Chris White came and stayed with us a year or two ago, and our cat's name is Abby, and so Lisa started calling my cat 530 because it's the Abbey ale yeast. So now our cat has many names, but and White has several other strains, but those are the two that I tend to stick with. The Trappist tends to be very fruity and banana, but you can control that if you get it down into the low 60s, and then the Abbey, the 530, is real spice driven and will tolerate up to 15% alcohol.
Okay.
Do you ever blend an Abbey ale with like a Brettanomyces? Do you ever blend an ale with wild yeast?
Yeah, we really haven't done that in a primary fermentation. We've either gone all or nothing. Okay. So, yeah.
All right, you ready for the quick fire?
Yeah.
Quick fire. Let him open the other bottle first.
Yeah, and I'm real quick. I'm opening Temptation, which is a blonde ale. I don't necessarily call these Belgian. Nowhere on the label does it say it's Belgian, but it's a blonde ale aged in Chardonnay barrels for a year with 2 strains of Brett. You're going to get a real flavor of wine from the Chardonnay.
Okay.
You're going to get the Brettanomyces coming through. You're going to get the oak coming through. It's a very, very complex beer.
Sounds great. Good pop there.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever fermented beer with just the wine yeast you use in bottle conditioning?
I have done tests, little carboy homebrew tests, where we pulled wort off, and it's very grainy tasting.
Okay.
Very, very much like a young lager.
Okay.
And I haven't brewed a lot of lagers myself, but that's what I associate it with. But it's very grainy tasting.
Okay.
So not necessarily good, but not bad either.
What was the original serving method for Belgians? Wood casks with gravity?
Gosh, I don't know.
Not sure?
I'm not sure. I'm going to guess that it had to have been wood cask. But just because I think that's how most beer was, in the day, before steel, obviously before glass.
Like 1300s.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
For your Saison, do you use WLP 565?
Ooh, I'm coming into the...
check the book
I'm so glad I brought this.
Good move.
And I just got a new batch of yeast the other day. And this was in here, this new, beautiful White Labs. Was that 565?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we used.
That's what you used.
But we made one batch of Saison this year. We're going to brew it once a year. We call it, Erudition. And, I wanted it to be complex and funky and crazy. So it was 60%. I think this is the breakdown. I could be off by a little bit. It was 60% of the 565 and then 40% Lambicus. So our Saison is fermented primary. So I guess I do mix.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Okay.
So it is a mix, and we fermented it at 85 degrees, 86 degrees. Next year I'm going to use a little bit less of the Lambicus and not quite as warm because it was pretty funky, stinky, and it took a long time for the funk to blow off in the aroma. The aroma was very, very out there, but was blown away at how many people liked it.
Okay.
That loved it, but it was a very complex beer.
Want to know, the same question is, do you finish with California ale yeast to speed it up?
No.
You don't?
Never do that. We always leave it. I'll be honest, I have a hard time. I've tried that before with homebrews, back when I was homebrewing a lot more. Beer that would stick and, the fermentation wouldn't finish. And
yeah.
I've never had luck adding another yeast to it. And I'm not sure, maybe I just don't wait long enough or whatever. I'm impatient, typical American,
Yeah.
Want it all, want it now.
Yeah.
There used to be this commercial down in Southern California. You want it all, you want it now, you want to be a contractor? It's like, what does that have to do with anything?
This one does have a lot of sorry to interrupt, a lot of champagne taste on the Temptation.
What are the two wild yeasts?
This is Brucellanus and Anomalous.
Anomalous.
Yeah, okay. Anomalous is the
like a smoked character.
Is the pineapple one, and then the Brucellanus is kind of the more traditional, and I still use Y yeast Brucellanus. I'm testing all of the White's new series of. They've got 3 or 4 Brett strains out now, but I started with the Y yeast Brett, and I've really stuck with it because I do really like it.
Okay.
And this year I got rid of all of the barrels, the old barrels of Temptation that had beer in it for the last few years, and I started all fresh. We use a winery called Ferrari Carano. I get usually 4 or 5 year old Chardonnay barrels. So this year I have barrels with just Y yeast Brett, some with just white, some with blends, some with 1 strain, some with 2. So we've really got a lot going on this year in our barrel room, and I'm really being very meticulous about tracking the flavor of each one, and we just write with a felt pin on the barrel.
Okay.
And those are already in the barrel already?
Yeah, next year's Temptation is already in the barrel. It's about a 9 to 12 month aging process. If I had to say we probably left this in a little too long, it was because we were waiting for the glass to get through customs, and this little bottle that we get from France was just a bear to get through. But now I know.
I love this beer.
So
this is an awesome.
It's a very complex, and this is going to age really well. We've made this 3 times previous at Corbel.
Okay.
And I keep saying Corbel, I should say. Our brewery started out at Corbel Champagne Cellars in 1997.
And they owned it.
And they owned it, and they hired me as their consultant.
Okay.
And then eventually they hired me. I became their brewer.
Okay.
And brewed every batch that we had there. And Gary Heck, who owns Corbel, decided to get out of the beer business. So he gave me the opportunity to buy the brand. So my wife Natalie and I bought the brand from him, and now we run the business together.
And that's Russian River as we know it.
That's Russian River as we know it, and that happened in 2002. I think we left, and then we construction all 2003, and then we finally opened in 2004.
Okay.
And now it's been about 16, 17 months at our current location in downtown Santa Rosa. But we wouldn't, and looking real quick on the business side, we wouldn't be where we're at without the help from Corbel.
Okay.
And normally big companies they always squash the little guy.
Yeah.
And in this case, Corbel was
just the opposite.
Gary wanted to see it continue and grow and make it happen.
That's good.
He just didn't want to be in the beer business anymore, and he knew that I wanted to grow it. And so he gave Natalie and I the ultimate opportunity, and so I take care of all the brewery operations, and pretty much Natalie does everything else, which really makes her the backbone of the business. So, we have this joke in the industry, all these brewers and Chris White. He doesn't. He goes around and talks and stuff. Lisa White does everything at White Labs.
They'll be the first to admit it too.
And, all right, well, you're not invited next time. We want to talk to Natalie.
Natalie goes. Yeah, you're the lead singer and I'm the drummer. I can't keep everything going.
Nice. This is really good. It always amazes me how much a wood barrel's flavors can infuse into the beer. This is a lot like a champagne.
Yeah, it's very champagne. It's very dry, which is very champagne. This is we use all French oak, and we do use French oak as opposed to American oak because the French oak is more porous. So once the Brett, or if we're using bacteria as Lactobacillus or Pediococcus, once they've infiltrated the wood, it's just easier for the beer to get in there and to move around and that sort of thing. And this kind of is a good segue. We're starting a new program. I just bought 4 8-gallon wine barrels, brand new, so it's new oak. But the idea behind this, and we just filled them last week with Damnation. So the idea is that we're going to probably buy another 15 or 20 of these things in the next month or so and have a mini barrel program going. And then what we're trying to do is strip all the oak out of them. Eventually we'll add Brett and Lacto, PDO, whatever to them, and then turn around and sell those to homebrewers, so homebrewers can start making these
at home.
These crazy funky beers, because that's the thing with, and so you won't technically be making, or homebrewer won't be able to make something like Supplication or Temptation, because these are beers that have had wine in them before.
Yeah.
But we'll take the process and we'll strip the oak out of it. Because if a homebrewer buys the same 8-gallon barrel,
brand new oak,
it's going to be too oaky. So we're going to create a whole new beer, and basically probably be Damnation on wood.
Okay.
And then in time we'll have stripped enough oak out, and then start selling these barrels to the homebrew community.
That's a great idea.
Hopefully,
do they need to be filled up to the topped off, or can you have headspace in them?
You know, that's an interesting question. There's two trains of thought: whether you top your barrel and whether you break the film yeast, or you just leave them. In Belgium, they just leave them.
Okay.
And in the past, I've done it both ways, and I found that it works either way. It just, but if you do top your barrels and you have your little homebrew, trigger, you want to put a 3/8" ID tube will fit over the end of the spigot. Okay. You want to break the film yeast just in one location. You don't want it to go splashing in there and break. You want that film yeast is very important.
Okay.
And
it's a seal.
It basically is a seal, yeah.
Okay.
And the wild yeasts form that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And we could have gone with 5-gallon barrels or 8-gallon barrels. And the price difference, if you're going to put a year or two into something, and the barrel was literally only like $10 or $15 more for the 8 gallons or the 5 gallon, I just chose to buy 8 gallons, and we're going to run with that. Figuring that a homebrewer could do 2 half batches.
Perfect.
Or they could do, 2 full batches and have 2 gallons to top with if they do want to take the topping method. But the idea is to, basically give back to the homebrew community and, just sell these barrels back to the homebrewers, and already have stripped the oak out. And we haven't decided if we're going to sell them already inoculated or just sell them straight and let the homebrewer do whatever he wants. We may do a little bit of both so that they come to the homebrewer already seasoned. And but it's going to be long term because it takes a while to strip. I'm a winemaker by trade background. It takes forever. It's going to be really interesting, but it's like I tasted it yesterday, figuring that we would talk about it before I left the brewery to come down to the Bay Area for the weekend. And it's only been 5 days. It's brand new oak. You can already smell the oak in the Damnation.
Okay.
And I think we'll also do Salvation, which is our Belgian strong dark as well, because I think it'll dry out the tannins from the oak is going to dry the beer out a little bit. It's one of the few Belgians we do that is sweet in flavor. And Avery Brewery from Boulder, Colorado. Adam Avery makes some amazing, just big, giant beers. I should get him in here one of these times when he's out visiting us. He's so enthusiastic about good beer and what he does, and he makes some crazy, funky stuff. And he just started a barrel program. I shipped him like 30 or 40 barrels maybe a year ago.
Okay.
And he put his Belgian quadruple, which is called the Reverend, in wood. No critters, no bugs or nothing. But in time, it fermented a little bit more, and the tannins dried it out. And he put it in a Cabernet barrel, so there were some tannins from the cab. I like the Reverend. I really like the Reverend on wood. It was really, really good.
Okay.
So the wood thing is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to have a lot of fun with this. We just got to find a home in the brewery for like 25-gallon barrels.
It's a great idea.
And they're like $200 a piece. So I mean, it's not cheap. And so we're making a bit of an investment here.
Yeah.
It's going to take a few years, I think, to pull this through.
Yeah. Are you going to do different wild yeast strains in each one, or mixing, blending, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We haven't decided yet. I think I know I already have like 10 or 15 homebrewers that have already emailed me just in my casual conversations. I had this idea when I was back at the homebrewers conference in Baltimore this year, and that's one of the reasons I like to travel so much and go out and do beer education, is that it really gives me a time to be alone and focus on things. And I came up with this barrel idea, cruising around back, and I had to drive from Baltimore to Boston, which MapQuest said it was 6 hours, ended up being like 9 or something.
Liars.
So they always are.
They lied to me for the last 10 days.
Anyways, but all right. So you have a slew of questions.
I do, but I want to now. We got to take a break. So we're going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to finish my quick fire because they're still coming. Yeah, I got and they're all random too. So I'm just going to hit you with all sorts of different stuff. Quick break. We'll be right back. We're with Vinnie from Russian River Brewing Company. You can go to RussianRiverBrewing.com, and I imagine you can keep up to date on this barrel program you're working on too. You probably update about that. Just started it, so it's going to be some time. So don't get too crazy about it yet. But that sounds like a good idea. So, all right, quick break. We'll be right back with Vinnie from Russian River.
The Brewing Network, saving your life, one beer at a time.
I'm eating stinky cheese, and it's good. Stinky cheese from, like, France or something, right?
This is Alvino Drunken Goat from Spain.
Goat cheese from Spain.
Spain
and
people.
Then we're
that's good.
Some Northern France cheese.
Goes good with beer.
I'm mauling that one pretty good.
It's pretty creamy stuff.
I'm also trying to finish off that open bottle of sanctification there.
The cork thing is very cool.
Yeah, style, right?
All right, I got a couple things to get to here. Well, I got a ton of questions, and I'm going to do this little quick fire thing to you. But first, we like to play a little game here called Stump the Brewer. And the chat room, as usual, is much quicker than I am. And they've already begun the game without us. But that's cool because we got, Vinnie was awesome. He brought in a few things for us to give away. We got 3 shirts, I think, to give away, right?
Yeah, I thought those were mine.
So I've already got 2 Stump the Brewer questions, and I didn't even put it out there yet that we're going to play Stump the Brewer. You guys are awesome. You already know what we're going to do, so that's cool. So I got 2 questions for you, Vinnie, and here's how it works. If they stump you, they get the shirt. If they don't, they get nothing.
All right.
Okay?
And I already gave away earlier that I'm not that technical of a brewer, so they're probably asking like some crazy.
Well, these ones they should be up your alley in looking at them, although they're tough. But they should be up your alley. But it's all good fun. Especially if they make you look dumb.
Not gonna happen.
How do other brewers do?
Well, basically, we always give the shirts away in the end. We've had brewers both not be stumped and we've had some stumped. So
they make it. They got good, and then they hose.
Yeah. Sometimes they just throw out really random questions,
right.
But these are good. They're getting better and better at it every week. These are good.
Awesome.
Natty, Natty, by the way, is our chat room monitor today, Natty and Silky, and we appreciate you guys coming in. Can you give Natty the microphone real quick, John? Just to, Daniela, not here today, had to, other commitments, which sucks, but awesome that Natty's here to help us out, and
Thanks,
Silky
Natty.
too. We always appreciate it.
I'm wearing a set of fake breasts right now.
Which is good because, both the chat room and we appreciate that too. How's the chat room going for you today?
It's great. A lot of good interaction between them. They have a lot about taking the yeast out of your bottles to propagate that into
nice.
something else. They're hoping you're not mad.
Of course not. No. Right?
Yeah, it's a mix. Like I said, no, it's fine. It's just you're getting wine yeast in.
Oh, that's right, because you're getting the bottle condition too.
Yeah, bottle condition.
Use that to bottle condition.
And,
ferment with the other stuff, and then use that for the bottle conditioning.
Yeah. Use the white labs you use.
Because you can get the white labs. 500 is the Trappist.
Okay. That's a good idea to use for the bottle condition, though.
Yeah. Wine yeast, or even just going with a regular, White Labs is doing a lot of wine yeast now. White wine yeast and as a good one.
Just to pick one of those.
Yeah.
Hang on, Natty, take that back.
Tommy Arthur uses, I think it's the white wine yeast from white to bottle condition.
Okay.
So,
Natty, did you get the information from these 2 questions I have for Stump the Brewer? You know who asked it and all that?
Yes, sure.
And do they have the answers to these questions?
He hasn't answered but I believe it's actually Oz Brewer, and he's at work right now. He's getting a little drunk, so let me ask him.
Okay. I just, okay, John, you
it's
can
Monday
take the
morning
mic
to
back.
him. He should
I
be
just
getting
wanted
drunk.
to, yeah, that's right. Oz, one of our regular listeners, actually usually takes Mondays off to hang with us, but I guess he's getting drunk. Okay. Well, here's the deal. They're going to have to know the answer in order for this to be valid, just in case,
how would we know he's
in case
stumped?
Vinny doesn't. So, you guys, I'll ask the questions, but if you don't have the answers, it's not valid. They got
then he can make up anything he wants, and then
Natty,
he's not stumped.
Natty said they got him. Okay. Are you ready, Vinny?
I am.
Stump the Brewer.
Drum roll, please.
Name the 6 Belgian Trappist breweries.
Oh yeah, that's easy.
Okay.
I say it's easy because when Natalie and I went to Belgium in 1999, we visited all of them.
Okay.
We got to stay at Abbey Scormont, which is a Chimay.
Okay.
That's 1.
Okay.
Westmalle is 2, which is in Antwerp, outside of Antwerp. West Vleteren is West Flanders. Rochefort, just close to there.
Okay.
Ockel, which is the newest one, and Orval.
All right.
So in Auckland, we went there on, I don't know, it was Monday or Tuesday and they were closed. So we didn't actually get to taste the beer, but it was a beautiful monastery.
Okay.
So I have a picture of, Natalie took a picture of me at the doors of all 6 of the Trappist monasteries. Nice. So, was that 6?
With the roof about to fall on your head, I'm sure.
Yeah. So,
wearing your damnation shirt.
But, all right. That was a cool trip though. Seeing them, we got so much inspiration from that trip.
I bet.
At Orval, there's these ruins from God's time.
Yeah.
And, they are so beautiful.
That's great.
It's great.
You're a Northern American monk.
That's right.
You're a West Coast monk.
That's right. All right, who was that one, Natty? Was that Oz, or that's that was Oz? All right. Hey, guess what, Oz? You don't get a shirt this time.
How many does he have?
Is the other one Oz too? Are they both Oz, or is the other one somebody else? Okay, the other one's somebody else. I'm not going to try to pronounce.
Yeah, and
that
there used to be another Trappist monastery from the Netherlands, but they lost their status as a Trappist monastery. Although I hear they're working towards getting it back.
They weren't monkey enough?
They weren't monkey enough, yeah. They didn't have the funk of the monk.
Well, this one's related now, so this question may already be answered. I'm going to ask it anyway, although there are 2 parts to it. So then, how many Trappist monasteries produce beer is part 1.
Yeah, it's 6 officially right now, and that's a designation a bit like an appellation for wine.
Okay.
For instance, that there's laws that say if you say Napa Valley, or some sub-appellation Rutherford or in Sonoma, whether it's Russian River or Sonoma Valley or so on and so forth, Dry Creek, you have to have a certain percentage of grapes from that region in your appellation, from the appellation in your blend. Well, that's how Trappist is. Trappist, no one else can use the word Trappist. Okay. And if they do, you'll get a cease and desist. The monks have some high-powered lawyers.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
At the monastery, Father Thomas, who was our host, and we stayed there for 2 nights, and we had to eat in silence, and we got to drink this beer Doré, which was the monks' Trappist, their table beer. It's a 4.8% alcohol version of Chimay White.
Okay.
And it was funny. He's very stereotypical monk, kind of a big belly, and he's got an abaddon, the brown
towel.
Yeah, and he had this big leather belt, but the funniest thing was he had a pager on the side. and he was touring us through the brewery, and the pager went off, and he looked at him and was like, nah, he just ignored it, which was like so American.
Right.
But then it was sad the next year we found out he passed away. So Natalie and I were very saddened, and I don't know why that came to be, why my email went through to him, and he brought us in for 2 days, and it was something magical that was meant to be that will never happen again. We'll never, probably get into Abbey Squaremont, Chimay to see that again from the inside.
Well, that's a great story. Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah.
How do you get at the Trappist level? As a brewer, if you were born in Belgium, how does a brewer become a Trappist monk? Or do you know?
Well, a monk, nowadays they all have secular brewers in there working, and there's only a couple of them where the monks still work a little bit. But at Squaremont, at Chimay at the time, Father Thomas oversaw the whole process. So he wasn't technically a brewer, but he was taught from Father Theodore, who has also since passed away, I believe, who was at Chimay. And to become a monk, you have basically these 6-month periods where eventually you need to commit or you go. And Father Thomas, and you have like 9 of these things, so you have several years to decide if you really want to stick in this and be a monk. Once you become a monk, you can't just walk out and leave. They hold you to it, and it's a very serious
or they kill you.
Thing. Yeah.
Damnation.
So he told us that he knew right after 6 months or whatever the first trial period was.
Right.
And Father Thomas, he loved it.
Okay.
And there was a soundproof room that he would take us into. And once we got in there, because monks can't talk, they have to be silent.
Right.
And they would just chatter and go, and he would just talk and talk and talk.
Of course, he doesn't get to talk
any other
time.
Talk. It was funnier.
Wow.
It was funnier than heck, man.
Oh, that's great.
So, but he was great. And I still have the little itinerary he wrote. And we got to go see the monks chant at like 8:30 at night. And it was eerie waking up at like 4 in the morning. Because they had already been to their, mass or whatever.
Okay.
And hearing it through the hallways echoing through was really kind of eerie, but very, very cool. And
I bet.
so we got back, and one of our neighbors at the time picked us up from the airport, and first thing she looks back at Natalie and I, and she goes, "So, did you guys do it in the monastery?
They can't do it, can they?
Before she even said like hello, or we're like, are you kidding? No, man, you could hear anything. You drop a pin and it'll it makes all kinds of noise.
Right. So you guys didn't do it in the monastery?
No.
That's too bad. That would have been a great capper to a good story.
Yeah. So.
All right, there's a second part to that question. What is the correct name of the order of monks?
The correct name is it's Benedictine, I believe.
Benedictine monks. Yeah. I think that's right.
Cistercian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know there's a one word for nuns, for a nunnery.
Yeah.
And that I don't know.
Okay.
So Benedictine is the order, and
Cistercian.
Cistercian.
Okay.
I can't even say that word.
Okay.
So I guess that's sort of, half right. I've missed half of that, I guess.
Okay. If Benedictine Cistercian isn't right, we'll think about giving you a shirt on that one. But the Brewers so far not stumped. I got another one. This might not. Is this a Stump the Brewer? I don't know. Natty gave it to me like it was a Stump the Brewer. When did Belgian brewers first discover the attributes of Brett?
I don't know that.
The brewer stumped.
I would say, just guessing, that lambics which is the style of beer that I believe kind of originated that. Although there's some, Flanders brown and red ales that maybe were all at the same time.
Okay.
But what year that was, gosh, I have no idea, because there was so much Brettanomyces in beer because there's a wild yeast, and that's
how they brewed it.
And that's how they brewed it, was just they left it to sit. And now there's the one region, Patenland in Belgium that
Valley,
that is a very small region. There's only like 10 lambic brewers left, and it's funny because a lot of people think that it's in the air, but it's mostly in the rafters. And when these breweries have to put a new roof on or something, they don't rip the old one off. They just build on top of the old one because they want the rafters, all the wild yeast are permeated into the wood.
Okay.
And that's kind of a good segue. We're drinking another beer here called Supplication, which is a brown ale aged in Pinot Noir barrels with sour cherries, which using cherries is a very common thing for sour beer. And then we add
Flanders. Or?
I would say it's kind of that, although we don't really categorize it because there's so much oak from the Pinot Noir, and it's got 3 strains of Brettanomyces, and then we go as far as to add Lactobacillus and Pediococcus, which are 2 bacterias.
It's another great beer,
and it's really very complex. But it's not sour and tart, and it's
doesn't make you pucker.
No, but
it's there.
It's got a little bit of tart, sour character.
It does have it.
The oak comes through, the cherry comes through. The whole idea was just to have this overall cherry quality through the beer. And I'm having a dilemma right now where we need to enter this. We're going to enter it at the Great American Beer Festival, but I don't know what category to put it in because it doesn't fit a category. So so many of our beers don't fit categories.
Right.
There's the sour category, which it's probably not sour enough.
It's not fruity enough to be fruity.
And the sour category has a subcategory for fruit or not, just straight goose or Flanders, red or old brown, or you could just do other, which this would be an other, but it's probably not tart enough. And then it could go into wood or barrel aged.
Right.
Or it could go, which that normally is won by like bourbon, or it can go in experimental, which I hate experimental because it's like,
just means you're a freak.
Pretty much, yeah.
You didn't know what you were doing, so you threw it in there.
Yeah, so I don't know where we're going to put it. Any input would be highly appreciated.
Okay, hang on a second. I got to finish Stump the Brewer here because, for one, I think the official. Well, let me finish.
Okay.
The official name of the Order of Monks is, where'd I put it? The
Cistercian.
Thank you. Cistercian Order of the Strict Observance is the official name. So I think we can call that a Stumped Brewer. Because that's the official name. So that's one shirt right there. Natty, you got that information?
It cost him a shirt. He'll never make that mistake again.
The Cistercian Order of the Strict Observance. If you ask that question, Natty's taking your information, but also send me an email, Justin, at the Brewing Network.
Benedictine is in there. Benedictine is a part of the order. And
definitely a Benedictine monk.
Yeah. And that's, the basic idea is just work hard.
Right.
And they, and one of the reasons why they they have secular brewers now is because they don't want to be interrupted for basically their 6 masses during the day. And there's just an article recently that West Vleteren has run out of beer.
Yeah, I was reading that today. Because it got rated as the best beer on the planet.
And now everyone wants it, and there's a company back east that's shipping it here illegally, slapping a label on it. When you buy West Vleteren in Belgium, it's a drive-through, or you go to the Cafe Verde across the street,
right.
and it's a cap. It's a different colored cap with a number, and that's
labels.
it. There's no label.
Gotcha.
And so basically anything that's being sent to America is being done illegally.
Okay.
And I know the monks don't. I've read, quotes from monks. They don't appreciate it. But we as Americans or just beer enthusiasts worldwide don't understand. And I understand this now that I've spent, 2 or 3 days at a Trappist monastery, what their mindset is. They're not making beer because they know they make great beer. They're making beer to survive and live, and that's their livelihood, and that's how they pay their bills.
Yeah.
And monks only make enough beer
to pay their bills.
And that's it. They're a non-profit. They make enough profit to run their abbeys and exist, and then some of them have what they call daughters, which are like sub-monasteries in different parts of the country where they then send money to off the beer sales. A lot of them make cheese and bread and candies, but that's it. We as beer enthusiasts don't understand that, and you only understand it by being there and seeing it.
Yeah.
So I was reading some posts recently on Rate Beer, Beer Advocate, or one of those, and there were some pretty harsh comments, just like, what the hell, these guys don't understand when you mean they're not brewers. Sure, they're brewers, but, that's not how they think.
That's right.
So.
And in fact, the article says a lot about that no, they're not going to brew more beer because the demand is higher. They don't need to. They've got a set amount. Yeah. And they actually didn't expect the rush that they were going to. It was a website that did the survey to decide who's the best beer on the planet, and then they did like a top 5, and that being number 1, they've just got a mad rush of demand. Although there's lots of rumor that they've run out of beer, they've not run out of beer. You can still buy it at the cafe across the street you were talking about that they run.
Yeah, you just can't go through the drive-through, which is the coolest thing. Natalie and I went through the drive-through, but you only buy a case, and it's a 12-case or 10-case maximum. Oh. So basically, the beer that's being shipped to America illegally, there's someone in Belgium going through the drive-through every day buying their 12-case lot, and then they're shipping it here and reselling it. So,
all right. So there's one shirt. Like I said, send me an email. And then the other one that I think was there actually an answer to Natty? When did the Belgians first discover the attributes of Brett? Did they answer that, or was that just a question, not even a Stump the Brewer question? You're gonna have to look through for that. Anything? It was Oz. And does he have an answer, an actual year that they discovered that?
Waiting for him to respond.
Okay.
He hasn't stumped.
All right, we'll see. We got one Stump the Brewer there, so we'll send you shirts for that, and then we're still waiting on the other one. And then, of course, they want you to sign the shirts, Vinny. How about that? A little autograph action for you.
Yeah.
Another one from Oz here. Man, he wants that shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. Where's he from?
Where was the Trappist order first founded? Country and region.
Oh.
Not where it is now.
I'm going to say the question, country and region?
Yeah.
I think it's France.
Okay.
But it's France or Germany, but I think it's France because it's very close to Belgium.
Okay.
The region?
Not sure.
No idea. What did they say?
I don't know, Oz, you're going to have to answer that in the chat room.
I'm going with Germany.
You're going to say Germany, Doc? Okay.
Yeah, I read it somewhere, and I don't remember what it is now either.
Yeah, I'm guessing. I think it's one of the two. But
he's got country, region, and year, but I left that out.
Wow.
Like, come on, Oz.
I wish
that shirt. Be nice, Oz.
I wish you would have brought my Michael Jackson book. That is, and for those listening, there's 2 definitive, now 3 definitive Belgian beer books. If you want to go to Belgium, one is the Michael Jackson's Belgian. I don't even know what the exact name is, but it's his Belgian beer book. That's 100% Belgian beers.
Okay.
And then there's the Good Beer Guide to Belgium by Tim Webb, who's a great beer writer from Camera, from England, but it's on Belgian beers, and that has every pub and bar and brewery listed, addresses, hours. It's a wealth of information. The new edition just came out, and then he and 2 other writers just did a book on, it's called Lambic Land, and it's just on it's more of a pamphlet than a book, but it's a great book on, it's maybe like 40 or 30 pages, but it's on all the remaining lambic breweries and giving the history of it and what's happened. And there are 3 books that you should own if you're a Belgian enthusiast or freak like I am.
If you want to find it, yeah. So. Oz says La Trappe, France. La Trappe, however, I guess.
And La Trappe is the name of the monastery that lost their Trappist credential from the Netherlands.
Yeah.
That I think are trying to get it back. I thought I read that somewhere. So it could be back to 7 potentially here in the future. But I'll buy that if he says it,
Okay, well, I don't know, Oz. He said France, so I'm going to call Vinnie not stumped on that one. Yeah. I know you wanted him to be more specific, but I think that's pretty good that he knew France and, what are you going to do? The other one about the Order of the Monks, that wasn't Oz, right? That was somebody else, or that was Oz? Yeah, that was Oz question, so that's why that was Oz. About who? Okay, so he already won on that one. All right, I got 1 shirt given away. I got 2 more to give away. I want a caller, 888-401-BEER. Give me a Stump the Brewer question, but I'll tell you what, you don't actually have to stump the brewer to get it this time. Call in with a Stump the Brewer, or any other question you got. I'll give you the shirt just for being the first caller to call in. So 888-401-BEER. We want to take a caller. You're getting a shirt just for calling in.
We should go by size. Be like, okay, if you're a large,
then call in.
Call in.
Right.
If you're not, I don't even know what sizes
these aren't T-shirts either.
No.
Doc, check through the sizes there for me if you would. And I'm going to start my quick fire here.
All right,
you ready? We're going to keep them short and sweet.
Fat.
Because we're running out of time.
And then there's really fat. And
got extra large?
Holy shit.
Okay. Vinny, do you clean your rafters?
No, but we do have rafters. It is not sheetrock.
Okay.
We ran out of money during construction, so we left it. Now I feel like a real Belgian Trappist. We do not. Lots of dust up there.
Okay, let's see.
That's a great question. I've never been asked that. You clean your rafters. That's sweet.
Yeah, nice. Any tips to working with cleaning and sanitizing wood barrels?
We don't really do that much cleaning. When we empty a barrel, we try to refill it. But if you are going to clean your barrels, you want to clean them with hot water, maybe 120.
There's no hold, Natty. Just hang on.
120, 140. You don't want to go much warmer than that, or else you're going to extract tannins and come up with some crazy flavors. But hot water is really the best method. And if you have to sit on your barrel, home winemaking shop or brewing shop, probably both, sell little sulfur wicks, and you burn them inside the barrel. And that preserves the barrel until you need to fill it again.
Okay.
But hot water is the best way. If you have to, you can use some caustic if it's really dirty, caustic soda. But really, you want to try to fill them right when you empty them.
Okay.
So.
All right. And quickly, I got a caller on. So, do you buy them from wineries? Is that where you get your barrels?
Barter.
You barter them from wineries.
Bartered. We've never bought in a barrel before.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right, Natty, we got somebody on the phone here?
Good.
Did you hang up on them? He's calling back. Okay. Hang on. We'll try to switch him over here. Does he want to be on the air? All right. Just hang on 1 sec. All right, go ahead, drop him. You there, caller?
Yeah.
Who are we talking to?
Chris,
Crotch Rot?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, buddy? How are you?
I can't believe nobody else called.
How's life in Florida, man?
It's weird.
What's
that?
that?
He sounds fine.
I said, how's life in Florida?
Hot.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Are you?
Hot down here.
What are you drinking down there today, Crotch?
Well, actually, because it's too hot to brew right now, so I've run out of my home brew. I'm drinking Flying Dog Pale Ale.
Is that a Florida beer?
No, it's out of Colorado.
Oh, okay.
I think it's out of Colorado.
How warm is it there right now?
Actually, it's not bad tonight. It's maybe in the mid-80s, low 80s.
Oh, you can make Belgian beers.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell homebrewers. They go, I can't brew during the summer. Like, oh, yeah, you can.
Oh, well, yeah, but in the daytime, it's 98.
You know.
Nice.
Saison.
Put a tent over it.
Natty, what's this? Halifax one and Oz one? Which question was Halifax?
When they discover the attributes of Brett.
Did he give a proper answer to that?
We don't know.
Yeah, he didn't give a proper answer, so I'm not sure that Halifax
One's
won.
Oz, one's the Christian.
Kristen, you got a question?
Not really.
He just wanted the shirt.
Just want to call and say what's up?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
That's good enough. You get a shirt for that. I said you would. What size are you?
Extra large at least.
What size? Do we got an extra large there?
Yeah, we've got the blue one. Is it blue? Yeah, the blue one.
You get a blue Russian River
It's a
shirt.
long sleeve tee.
Yeah.
It's a Russian River. It's excellent. Suitable for framing.
There you go, Crotch. When are you sending us some more beer, man?
Well, when it cools down a little bit. I'm probably going to start brewing again in September.
Okay. Hey, I forgot to...
I'm having a wall unit put into the living room area to where I'm going to keep that room really cold.
Nice.
The rest of the house, the unit that I have on the house, the central unit, isn't really strong enough or big enough to really cool the house as good as I need it. And so I would have huge temperature fluxes.
Yeah.
And, the beer would go really cool in the nighttime, but in the daytime it would be up around 75, 78, and I was, getting all these offbeat flavors.
You could try a Belgian. You could try a Belgian.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my favorites are pale ales and IPAs and.
Gotcha.
So I'm thinking about just separating off one room in my house and putting a gigantic, 15,000 BTU wall unit in the room and just keeping that room all the time at 72 and done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I gotcha.
It's about the beer.
Then the rest of the house doesn't even have to be that cold.
Yeah.
I don't live in the rest of the house for the most part. I'm in the living room. So.
Right. That's funny. Where you go to sleep, it's 110, but where you brew, it's like a perfect mild temperature. That's a brewer's mentality right there. I like that. Wow. All right, send me an email with your address again, Crotch, and I'll send you a Russian
and actually put me on with Manny too.
All right. Hey, and I think I forgot to archive the beginning of the show, so you're gonna have to send me the beginning, huh?
Did you do that again?
That's so sad. I didn't get the beginning of the show. I got in late.
All right. I got it from the first break we took. Somebody else has it. Oz, send me the show, damn it. I just need the first 15 minutes.
Somebody's got it. I got in late, and so I missed the first portion of it too, like the first 10 minutes.
Okay. I got most of it. I just missed the intro. And it's none of the meat. That was just me blabbing on about a bunch of stupid stuff.
You were talking about stupid stuff.
Yeah. No one wants to hear that anyway, because I said when it's going to be up, and if it's not up, then they don't get to know anyway.
Who cares?
All right, Christian. Thanks for the call. Send me an email.
Okay, and like I said, put me on with Manny real quick.
All right, hang on one second. All right, Natty, you can take it. All right, there's Christian, good friend of the show.
That's 2 down.
And okay, so that's 2 shirts given away. I got 1 more to give away. I probably want to take another caller. We're going to come up with something different for the very end of the show, though, because that's always a good time. All right, here we go. Some more quick stuff. Vinny, can you make lambic at home without contaminating your entire brewery?
Oh, yeah.
You can?
Yeah, you can.
Using just different hoses and stuff, or what?
Yeah, keeping all your hoses different. A plastic bucket is actually a really good way. You're not going to get any oak flavor, but a plastic bucket's a great way to do a lambic at home because it's porous.
Okay.
So then you can use it again. And there's a home brewer down in Southern California that this guy Bill makes some pretty good home brews doing that, but. Yeah, you do have to be very meticulous in your cleaning, and using any Brett or Lactopedio, any bacteria. You just, sanitation is the key to keeping it separate between your mainline, beers and your wild, crazy, funky beers with critters, and cleaning with heat. That's a big thing.
Okay.
Is not just. I don't know what's hip in homebrewing cleaning these days.
Yeah, I don't know how you'd clean with heat.
Hot water and caustic.
Yeah.
And a lot of homebrewers don't use caustic, but basically caustic soda is liquid Drano, basically.
Okay.
Can't that be dangerous though?
Of course it is.
It is, but that's how every brewery and winery. Yeah, I mean, for every degree warmer caustic gets, it gets like 10 times stronger or something.
Okay.
But cleaning with caustic is the absolute. You can't do carboys with super hot, or else you're going to crack them.
Yeah.
But stainless or plastic, or even I clean all my carboys with slightly warm water, but I still use caustic because it just breaks all the proteins and all the trub down, everything down. But
like what? What's a brand of caustic?
Beerstone is cleaned with acid, actually, so is an acidic.
It's the opposite direction.
Yeah, it's the opposite direction. But I don't think no homebrew shops sell caustic soda,
gotcha.
but
Red Devil
but beer line cleaner is caustic.
Okay.
And liquid Drano is caustic.
Gotcha.
But when you read the liquid Drano, when liquid Drano says, they say use it cold, that's because it is dangerous. Because if you add,
it heats up too when it hits water.
Yeah,
too.
It'll explode, especially dried caustic.
That's not fun.
But it's not fun. But it's the evil necessity of the beer and wine industry that we use chemicals to clean with, and we have to.
It's got to be cleaned. Okay.
Cleaning's it. But just, you know, vigorous cleaning and keeping everything separate, have separate hoses. So we basically have a piece of tape, like an orange or red tape around every hose or whatever that's Brett, or that's for our, you know, wild beers.
Okay.
So,
how well does Chimay yeast reculture for warm fermenting?
You know, the both white and Y yeast have cultured Chimay, so you might as well just buy it from them. For white, it's 500. It's the Trappist. The beer, it takes like 3 months to get the beer here from, you know, it sits in a ship and it's on a container and so on and so forth. So by the time it gets here, you'd be better, unless you go to Belgium and you can get a fresh bottle from the brewery. And I don't know if Chimay uses 2 different yeasts. I've heard varying stories, and they told me that they use 2 different strains, but I met the actual secular brewer recently, and I think he told me that it's just 1 strain, but I can't remember though.
Okay.
So
I think I got a caller with a question for you too, yeah? All right, hang on, don't, all right, go ahead. Matt, you're on the air.
Hey, Justin, it's Matt here.
How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Doing all right. Where are you?
I'm at home.
Why are you not here?
Oh, we decided to reorganize our home office here, the wife and I, so.
Gotcha.
And busy doing that.
You got a question for Vinnie?
I do. I wanted to tell Vinnie that I'm a huge fan of the Russian River IPA.
Thanks.
And I wondered if he would be kind enough to give a home brewer's recipe over the air.
Yeah,
it's already out there on More Beer.
Pliny the Elder is out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Blind Pig IPA was on. We did that with More Beer.
Okay.
And the Russian,
but the recipe's not on More Beer. You can buy the kit from More Beer. So that's a difference.
Maybe that is what it is.
Okay, but I'm not looking for Blind Pig or
you're looking
Pliny.
for Russian.
I'm looking for the Ale House.
The Russian
IPA.
River. I'd have to email that to you because I don't have it right off the top of my head. Off the top of my head, I'll say it's mostly 2-row based. There's maybe 2%, 3% Crystal 40.
Mm-hmm.
There's 5% Carapils, and the rest would be 2-row. It's a pretty simple malt base.
Okay.
It's bittered with the 90. It's a 90-minute boil.
Okay.
We mash at 152, and the 90-minute boil. The first hop addition is Split of Warrior and Columbus.
And that goes in right at the beginning of the 90 minutes.
A 90-minute boil.
All right.
And then there's a 45-minute addition of, I think it's Centennial. And then there's a 30-minute addition of Cascade. And then the final addition is Centennial, Cascade, and a splash of Columbus.
All right.
And then it's dry hopped with Columbus, Centennial, and Cascade.
All right.
But that's just off the top of his head.
Yeah.
Wow, what did we miss there?
But
California ale
if
use?
you want, and California ale use from white. If you want exact percentages, shoot me an email. You can just go to info@russianriverbrewing.com. That goes to my computer.
Will do.
And I can give you exact percentages of the malt bill and the hops.
Right.
The hop breakdown.
You might be bombarded with some emails.
Yeah.
That's all right.
I'll make a blanket email. Send it
Yeah.
out. But that's close. We ferment at 68 degrees. It's a 1064-ish original gravity. Finishes at 1011, 1012. It's 6.5% alcohol by volume. And we do very little water adjustment. We remove the chlorine, add a little bit of gypsum back to harden it up, and that's about it.
All right.
And the dry hop is 6 days, so it's not that long of a dry hop on the Russian River IPA. Whereas our Blind Pig IPA, our new kind of reintroduced my old recipe, we dry hop that for like 8 or 9, 10 days.
Okay.
Pliny the Elder's the 14-day dry hop.
Nice.
Pliny the Younger, our triple IPA, is a 5-week or 4-week dry hop.
Really?
So yeah. So and the Pliny the Younger, we dry hop 4 1-week dry hops. So we add one dry hop for a week, and then a week later we add another dry hop, and another week, and so on. And so it takes its 4 dry hops, and the final dry hop, the 4th dry hop, is in the server. And the batch usually only lasts a week, so it's only about a week on the dry hop.
Okay.
Different hop each time?
Mix, yeah. Yeah, it's usually a mix of Simcoe, Amarillo, and some Centennial. Use a lot of Centennial as filler.
Okay.
And then
when you can't get the Amarillo, you mean?
No, with a tiny amount of Amarillo or Simcoe.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't use a lot of Amarillo, just
Okay.
enough to accentuate to get that peach apricot character. The Simcoe, big grapefruit pine flavor. Centennial's very fruity, kind of Tricks or Fruit Loops,
Yeah.
and Pliny the Elder is up until recently has been no Cascade. We've been messing around with some Cascade in it recently, and the Younger is no Cascade. But lots of Cascade in both the IPAs, the Blind Pig, and the Russian River.
Okay.
So.
Is that good for you, Matt?
It's awesome. Thanks, Vinnie. I'm a big fan. And,
thanks.
I appreciate it. And one more thing.
Go ahead.
I want to give big ups to the chat room, and we're requesting Backstreet Boys and NSYNC.
Yeah.
Go to hell.
Yeah, you guys can forget it.
See you guys later.
See you, Matt.
98 degrees.
Thanks. All right. I got a note here that Doc from Sydney wants to call in. Call in, Doc. The phone's free. 888-401-BEER. We'll take your call. Someone wants you to review a homebrew. And the only homebrew we have here is John's, which is fine.
If he wants to drink my fermenter
if
sample.
we can, well, you got that and you got your homebrew on tap also.
Yeah,
So
but this is Belgian style. I brewed this just for the show, so.
let's do them both. I'd like to get them both reviewed.
Okay.
It's a homebrew show, and people want Vinny's opinion about some homebrew. So
This was at 10:20 about a week ago, after a week at 72 degrees. So.
All right.
So this one's John's upcoming Belgian.
So this is it's looking at it's blonde in color. I should really smell it first. That's proper reviewing technique. You should always smell it first, especially if it's a hoppy beer. But I'm sure this won't be hoppy. I can already smell it. I'm not even holding it close to my nose. It's big fruit banana.
Mm-hmm.
I can smell it. Its glasses are like 9 inches from my nose. It still has some dirty fermentation quality to it, which in most cases will age out. There are aromas that most of our beers have in the early stages of fermentation. This hasn't been chilled.
No.
It's
warm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking a drink now, so we can get a good flavor.
It's 30% wheat. And all British Maris Otter base.
Yeah, it's sweet,
Mm-hmm.
and it's fruity. It's banana and pear.
Okay.
To me is what I'm tasting.
All right.
And that's mostly yeast-driven flavors, and hasn't been. I don't know. A lot of homebrewers don't have the ability to chill like we do.
Yeah.
As professional brewers to drop the yeast out, so it takes a lot longer. But
I'm letting it go 2 to 3 weeks at like 72, just to let it do its thing for a while, and then I'll chill it.
Yeah. So.
Can you tell us what the gravity is?
Well, he already told me, so now I'm psycho.
How about the original?
Original gravity. All right, let's try this.
All right, here we're gonna go. This is I asked earlier in the show if you weren't listening. All right, caller, you're going to be on hold for a sec, so just hang in there. I asked earlier in the show that I'd like to be able to just taste a beer and know what its OG and its FG is.
I'm gonna. Belgian beers are so deceiving because if you, although you didn't use sugar, I don't think,
I did.
But you did. So it makes it so hard, and that's what's cool about that's the whole idea about using sugar is it makes it very deceptive and a drier flavor than malt would give. But let's say, I don't know, 1068.
Yeah.
No.
Is that exactly what
1072.
That would have been great.
No.
You'd have been my hero if you did that, Vinny. All right, I got a caller on the line to take two. Hang on. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, it's Doc calling from Sydney, Australia.
Hey, Doc, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and you guys?
We're doing all right. Are you standing in a dungeon, Doc?
Oh, you're talking on the speakerphone.
Yeah.
I've gone into a sort of a phone conference room.
Oh, okay.
So away from my boss and away from my desk.
Oh, good work. And what do you do for a living then?
I'm a technology consultant.
Okay.
At least till his boss finds out.
Yeah, you were a technology consultant. And so you don't get to drink beer with us when you're listening then, huh?
No, but the guy sitting next to me today is about to buy a house today. So if he gets that, it's a big property in Sydney, then we'll be off to the Belgian Beer Cafe this afternoon.
Beautiful.
Wow.
There you go.
It'll be all good.
All right. Very nice. Do you have a question
for
Vinny?
Vinny? I was in San Diego a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah?
And, staying in downtown San Diego, but I had to coerce one of the other conference attendees to share a cab with me down to Mission Beach to the Liars Club so I could try your Pliny the Elder.
Yeah, I'm Louis Mello, who owns the Liars Club. He and his girlfriend Denise are in town for the big Toronado party, so he rolled in last night. When I'm done here, I'm going over to the party tonight, and then he and Denise are coming up to stay with us tomorrow. So I'm spending the weekend with Natalie and I are spending the weekend with Louis. owner and proprietor of the Liars Club. Great bar. So, did the beer taste okay?
Very eclectic.
So
yeah.
Did you get to taste the Pliny?
I did. It was the first beer I had. I walked in. I said, "I want Pliny the Elder." He looked at me and went, "Yeah, you know what you're here for, don't you?"
That's cool. Well, thank you.
And what was your impression then?
Oh, the aroma was fantastic, and just it wasn't as over the top as I thought it could have been, and so which was good. It was still, you know, it's an extreme beer, but it was very drinkable, and I could have had like 4 of them, but I wanted to try other ones as well.
It's a dangerous beer at 8% alcohol because you can't taste it, and we saved the over the top for the younger. Now I got to ask you, you're in San Diego. Did you taste my favorite San Diego beer, Pure Hoppiness from Alpine Brewery?
I did. I had that at the Liars Club, I think, as well.
Yeah, that's a fantastic beer, and that's an 8% alcohol. That's his regular IPA, and then he makes a double IPA called Exponential Hoppiness that we were drinking last night. I think that's why I'm hungover today. It's 11% alcohol with oak chips. It's a fantastic beer.
Wow.
I don't think that was out probably a couple weeks ago though.
Yeah.
So
very nice. I have to say about Pliny not being over the top. I think the thing that mainly saves it from tasting like an over the top hoppy beer for me is how smooth it is with that amount of bitterness.
Yeah.
You know, with the amount of hops, and that to me is a difference between a lot of people's double IPAs, mine included, and your IPA is getting a beer that's that bitter and that's smooth at the same time. Because bitter can have a lot of bite and a lot of harsh aftertaste, and Pliny, I don't know how the hell you do it, but sort of misses out on all that.
Yeah, that's in picking the bittering hop, and that's why we, even on the IPA, we blend Warrior into the bittering.
Okay.
Because Warrior is a low cohumulan. Cohumulan is the measurement of basically harsh bitterness.
Okay.
And so by going with a cleaner, lower cohumulan, you end up with cleaner bitterness. But you don't want to go with all Warrior because then it's too clean.
Right.
And you need some, Columbus or Chinook or Simcoe as your bittering hop to give it a little bit of, complexity in the, character of being, whether it's, citrus or pepper or pine, whatever the hop is.
Right.
So.
All right. Hey, Doc,
I was expecting some pain, and I had my first sip, and I thought, where's the pain? It's coffee, it's tasty, it's fantastic, and I want another sip. It wasn't a sort of, I'm going to have another sip, but I don't want another sip.
The other component of our non-Belgians in particular is we don't use a lot of crystal malt. I don't detest crystal malt, but I don't like it. It muddies up the flavors, in particular in a hoppy beer. Hoppy beers shouldn't have a lot of crystal malt.
Okay.
And I think that's where most home brewers and professional brewers go wrong with their hoppy beers. I think if you look at a hoppy beer that has a very crisp and clean bitterness, it's probably very light in color, a light copper color, maybe a pinch of crystal malt added, but there isn't a lot added. And crystal malt doesn't blend well with bitter hop flavor. They just really clash.
So are you using something in place, or are you just not? It's just more of the base malt.
Just more of the base malt. Okay. In the case of Pliny the Younger, our triple IPA, it's 100. It's all it's 90%. The fermentable wise, it's 80%, 80 or 85% 2-row.
Okay.
Maybe 5 or 7% carapils on fermentables, and then like 5 or 8%. Sugar.
Okay.
So, but there is no, like Pliny the Younger, we use no crystal malt. The Elder, there's maybe 1%. It's not a lot. It's just enough to give it a tiny, tiny bit of sweetness. But for the most part, we just add more base malt. And we had sugar in both cases too that helped dry the beer out.
Okay. So. Nice. Hey Doc, I owe you some swag, don't I?
You do, from the very first show.
Yeah.
The second show or something like that.
Yeah, you helped me out with an archive, I think.
Yeah, we will.
Yes.
How about the other shirt?
Here's what we're going to do. You get the other Russian River shirt. That's our last one. Just for calling in because I owe you swag. And I'll send you a Brewing Network shirt, too. Limited edition.
Fantastic.
Sweet. All right, cool.
Keep up the great work, guys.
Thank you.
Show.
You got to send me an email with your address, Doc, because
I will.
I probably don't still have it if you sent it to me before. So, Justin at the Brewing Network, just send me that. I'll send you 2 shirts.
No problem.
Cheers, Doc.
All right. Thank you for the call, Doc.
Thanks for supporting us in San Diego.
All right, we'll see you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, very nice. Australians are cool.
Yeah, they're very cool.
Okay. It's good to get some people that don't sound like us on the phones, too.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we sound dumb.
Yeah, we do.
Americans don't have good accents.
Yeah.
Although I hear that Americans who go to Australia get all the chicks. That's what the word around the campfire is.
We're okay.
All right, I got a bunch more questions. We got to keep doing this quick answer thing with you.
There's no quick answers here.
I know, but I'm trying to.
I keep waiting for the shotgun. Bam, 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 but nothing.
All right, and I'm going to have to cut you off if you go long answers.
Let's go until midnight.
This one's quick. Are there Pliny the Elder shirts available?
Yes, on the website,
which is
RussianRiverBrewing.com, and then there's a Russian River gift shop link.
Okay. Vinny, are there noticeable effects of mash hopping? And if so, what do you think it adds?
We used to do it. Mash hopping is adding hops to the mash. We don't do it now, mainly because the cows don't digest the hops well if they eat them, and that's a problem.
Nice.
And we've had issues where my dairyman's had a couple of cows kick because they ate pelletized hops. Flowers will eat around. It'll add something because if you and the best thing is to do a homebrew, taste it. If you taste the wort coming out of the lauter tun, it tastes hoppy, and so it's one component of getting more hops into the beer. If you want to go extreme hopping, the most extreme was Tom Nickel from O'Brien's when he hopped his hot liquor tank. So if anyone was at the craft or at the homebrewers conference in Vegas, that was funnier than heck.
Yeah.
So
It was.
anyways.
How long does it take for a brewery to turn a profit?
Oh gosh,
he's still waiting.
Yeah, no, we're gonna be profitable this year. Our cash flow is still nothing.
Okay.
But brew pub, it can be in 2 years, 2 years, because of the profitability on a pint of beer over the bar is good. A production brewery, it's typically at 3,000 barrels. That's break even for a production brewery. It's 3,000 barrels. But we're a combination of both. So we're going to do 3,000 barrels this year, and we'll be profitable. But mostly from the brew pub side.
How many barrels do you brew?
3,000 will be this year's production. Last year we did 2,000.
Per batch, though, when you brew a batch?
Per batch is 18 barrels.
Okay.
Yeah. So each barrel is 31 gallons.
Okay. Sort of related then, and we did talk about this before, so kind of a follow-up. Is distribution the key to profitability?
Quality is the key to profitability because
Nice.
that's what's going to keep people buying your product, but getting beer out there, distribution is one component of it.
How are you circumventing your lack of distribution in order to make profit?
Brew pub is one,
Okay.
and then also you can buy the barrel aged and the any bottled Belgian beer, anything we bottle, you can buy on our website, and we ship it via FedEx ground, kind of like a winery does.
Okay.
And as long as it's a reciprocal state, like a winery will ship to certain. There's 12 or 13 states. The Supreme Court just overruled the ban, so now states are starting to turn their laws. So there's going to be more and more states that do allow shipping. The law technically doesn't say beer, but beer is sort of grandfathered in.
Okay.
So we shipped this year the Temptation and the Supplication, the 2 barrel beers we tasted earlier, and the Sanctification. We probably shipped 50 or 60 cases across the state, across the country. So that's one way to get it out without having full distribution.
Okay.
And from a business standpoint, we're seeing full retail price.
Okay.
So, and then we just pass on the shipping and the shipping box cost to the consumer.
All right.
So.
And what about just general merchandise? Is that any part of your profitability?
It is. It's not as much as, say, someone like Stone. I know Stone has an amazing
swag thing.
Yeah, going on. But we ship shirts every week from our website, and we do a lot of stuff in our pub. Percentage-wise, I don't know what it is. Sales-wise, something Natalie would probably know.
Okay.
But we do, we're ordering a fresh batch of shirts every 6 or 8 weeks, getting stuff in, and we're always trying to change it up. And we do a lot of girly shirts, too, to try to keep the women involved. A lot of times in the beer industry, everything's marketed towards men, and the women are forgotten.
Right.
So we do, girly tanks and girly shirts, and we're getting some hooded girly shirts, kind of a thin fabric,
like the one you're wearing now.
So yeah,
and that is cute, by the way, Vinny.
The work shirts that we do that we're looking at earlier, we do
nice.
women's cut work shirts, so that they're cut for a women's body. So
okay,
but yeah, merchandise is a big part. It's also marketing too. Mm-hmm. People are wearing our logo out there.
What do large breweries do to reduce chlorine?
Filter.
Okay.
It's straight filtration from a standpoint of charcoal or carbon filters.
Okay.
So
we did a segment on that also. Doc's,
carbon block filter.
Yeah, it's water's critical. That's it's 10 shows probably.
Yeah.
So
we didn't even tap on that one.
Yeah.
All right,
no pun intended.
I got a few here that are from way earlier, so I apologize. I hope you're still with us. This one, if I remember right, came in when we were talking about Pliny in the beginning of the show, and the question is, what yeast strain do you use? So I'm thinking he wants to know about that one.
Yeah, it's California ale yeast.
Use the California ale.
Yeah, for everything that's non-Belgian is California ale yeast that we do at Russian River.
Okay. Here's one for any of you three. John, Doc, feel free. I made my first barley wine 4 months ago, and it still has a harsh alcohol taste. How long does it take to age properly?
Well, let's figure out what the harsh alcohol is from. If it's higher alcohols, like fusels and stuff, it's probably not going to go away. If you
ferment it
too warm,
okay,
it's a different kind of alcohol taste to it, and it does get harsh.
All right. So what if that's not the case? Is that the only thing that it would be a harsh alcohol taste?
Year or two?
Yeah,
a couple of years. Yeah, when we ferment,
don't throw it away.
No. Yeah, when we ferment Pliny the Younger, it ends up to be an 11% alcohol beer, but we try to ferment it. Cool, like 60. We ferment most of our non-Belgians at 68. The Younger, it's going to be an 11% alcohol beer, but we try to ferment it like 64, 65 to try to prevent some of those harsh alcohol flavors. But it's also scary too because you're not sure if you're keeping the yeast a little too cool. That it's not going to push through. So towards the end, we'll then warm it up.
Okay. And warming up doesn't mean
68. 68. Yeah, thank you.
All right. How about this one then about that, kind of along the same line? Will it hurt my beer to bring it from 45 to 65 degrees? I have a keg conditioning in my freezer, but want to warm it up to ferment some different beers. So going from 45 to 65 degrees, I guess he might be talking about he finishes his primary at 45 and then wants to jump it up to 65.
Well, it depends on style. Are you done with that beer?
Yeah.
And do you still want to keep using the yeast that's in there to help condition it?
Right.
And you're going to freak them out if you bring them up too fast.
You might want to rack before you bring it up to that? Is that what you're saying?
It depends if he's done.
Yeah.
If he's done with that beer, no, it's not going to hurt the beer.
Okay.
But
Okay. Fair enough. Came in much early. Might not even be there anymore. Here's one for us. How would you get your beers on the show for feedback? Send them to me. Contact me, Justin at the Brewing Network, and I will give you the address to send to. I'll post it up on the website if I put that up this week anyway. I'll give you our address is going to be up there. You can definitely send us your beers. We love to get listener beers, have them reviewed not only by the pros we have here in the studio, but the pros we invite to the studio, like Vinnie and other people. So send us your beer. Just go to Justin at the Brewing Network. It's the feedback button on the main page right now. Other people want to talk business with you, but they didn't give me questions or anything. They just want to talk. I think they probably want your phone number or something, Vinny. They wanted to. Halifax, for example, wants to talk business. Can he send you an email?
Email's great.
All right, there you go. Yeah. Send him an email. He says that you're the info at Russian River, right?
Okay. I have my own email, but I'm also the inbox for the masses of generic emails, which is fine.
Perfect. So. I think that does it.
I have a question.
By the way, Crotchrot, hang on, just real quick. Crotchrot Natty said that he wants to donate one of his past B3 certificates to the chat room.
I didn't quite get it. It was from a July 3rd episode.
Oh, he never got he never got his certificate? We have a serious problem in our chain of distribution of
we got to work on
prizes.
That. Okay, wait a minute. You have to work on that.
I have to work on it. Is there anything else in the Brewing Network that I have to work on?
I have to work on that.
But he doesn't want it now? Is that what he's saying? Or was he just noting that he never got it? He's donating. He said, F you, you never sent it, you can have it back? Wants to donate it to the chat room.
Pretty sure I was on top of that, but maybe not.
Yeah, I got another email from somebody that didn't get something too.
Oh, good. Well, we'll take care of them, but...
Yeah. Apparently our prize distribution system needs to be more efficient between John and I. All right, we'll work on that.
Don't add me into this fray.
Yeah.
I don't know, Crotchrot. Am I you just want me to give it away to somebody else right now? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's not.
Maybe just send it to him. You're going to get it back.
You'll get back.
You got to buy more supplies anyway. I think that covers it. That's all the questions I got in front of me.
Do you make wine, Vinny?
No, but I used to. Okay. I grew up in a winery, so I have a winemaking background. So all this oak stuff is very natural to me. cleaning and how to deal with it and flavor profiles and tannins from oaks and that sort of thing.
What about anything else, like ciders?
I've made cider. I've made, never made mead. Made sake. I love Fred Eckhart. He's a great person.
Yeah, I had some of his sake.
Yeah. He's been making sake since 1970.
What?
That's when I was born. So guys been making sake as long as I've been around. And then he wrote the treaty of lagers in like 1968 or something. Mm-hmm. So Fred Eckhart's one of my heroes. He's great. So, but that's all right. I just focus on our brewery now, and I don't homebrew much anymore. I used to homebrew a few times a year up until last year. And last year I didn't homebrew at all. And now I've got an assistant brewer who still homebrews. So anytime we're looking to do something different, he usually is the one working on it. So I mean, he did a California common beer that was awesome that I'd like to do on a full scale, and it'll be his first opportunity to do everything, create the recipe. And I'll hold his hand because it's hard to bump a recipe up and make sure you get it right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for Travis when that opportunity comes that he'll be able to take his batch that he created, this recipe, and then we'll extrapolate it up to a 15 or 20 barrel batch size.
Very nice. Chat wants to know if you make ciders.
We don't make them at the pub. I made them once or twice homebrew years ago. We do serve cider at the brew pub. We serve Two Rivers from Sacramento.
Okay.
Great stuff. He'd be good. Vince would be a good guy to have on.
We're going to do a cider show, so maybe you can give me that contact.
So yeah, and there's a new cider company from it's in Fairfax, I think. It's called Something Fox. I've tasted at some beer fests that are pretty good. And then up our way in Sonoma County, there's Ace, which is the bigger cider company.
Okay.
I think Vince would be great though, because he's got a real homebrew kind of feel to him, and I think that's how he started.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right, I'm going to wrap it up, guys.
Good show.
Yeah, it was a good show. Vinny, I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you. Thanks.
A lot of info. Great Belgians, man.
Thanks. It was fun.
Wonderful.
And I'm leaving you with several bottles too.
Beautiful.
And I'm off to the big party.
You got a long night ahead of you.
Yeah.
All right.
If I don't have to work tomorrow.
Well, we gave you a quick warm up.
So, well, thank you. This is great.
Okay.
This is really good. Anything we can do to help at Russian River.
Okay.
We would be happy to.
I appreciate
that.
I got to tell you, we've been looking forward to having you in here, and it was all it was cracked up to be. You got a lot of stuff up in that noggin of yours.
Thanks.
So,
Thanks.
I
it's our 11th week,
that.
by the way.
Sharing it. Is it?
Week 11.
11 weeks. You'd think we would know what we're doing by now, or something. Well, Vinny, thank you. We'd love to have you back. Daniela, you're going to need to measure Vinny's belly real quick before he leaves, and maybe while I'm doing my finishing touches here, we can announce what he's at, so that when he comes in next time, we can see how his training regiment's been going. Next week, we've got Matt from Firestone Brewery, and I got an idea about next week.
Wait. I have a Matt story then real quick.
Oh,
Matt,
give it.
Matt is one of my brewing heroes.
Really?
I love Matt.
He's a cool guy.
And he's a really cool guy. And you got to ask him. I'll leave it as a cliffhanger. I'm not going to tell the story.
Okay.
Ask Matt why I call him Batman.
Okay.
And
that was on your lecture from Baltimore.
Yeah, and if you I'm looking at my cell phone right now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go into contacts, and I'm going to, I don't have Matt Brentelson as Matt. It's B as Batman.
All right.
So you got to ask Matt next week why I call him Batman.
Okay.
And it's an awesome story.
All right.
So,
I'll get that.
Ask him about going into the record store. He'll know what that story. He and I have done beer dinners together 2 or 3 times. So we a lot of the stories have been shared. But those are two really, and they're all kind of related.
Okay. So. Good. We need good stories in here. Here's my idea about the Matt show.
I have an idea too.
You had said something about our topic of discussion with Matt. What were you told me a long time ago what you thought it should be?
Hop chemistry.
Okay.
And the Burton Union system, fermenting an oak.
Okay. I'm down with that. That's fine. But here's what I'm thinking also. Matt's traveling up from Paso Robles.
Paso Robles.
Okay. So I'm assuming he's not driving home that night, right? And I don't know what his accommodation situation is. I'd like to maybe get a hold of him.
Room and board, so if you need a place to
They've got a sales rep here in the East Bay, Mark Cabrera, that he normally stays with.
Okay.
But
because here's what I'm thinking. That the guy's not driving home either way.
No.
He's staying somewhere up here.
Right.
So we've had the Hangover show, and the people in the chat room, and I've definitely gotten emails, people want us to have the Drunken Show. We haven't had an official Drunken Show yet. Now you
not
two...
officially.
Doc and John...
We succeeded the Belgian show.
Yeah, but not drunk at all. We were very mellow and tasting.
We're good.
It's not the Drunken Show. John,
next time
John,
I will bring that
sissy.
in, but I have a big night ahead of me, that's why. I was pretty mellow on what I was tasting. I was pouring you guys more.
Yeah, very nice. Well, I'm thinking that because our brewer might get to actually stay and hang after the show, it might be the perfect opportunity to do the Drunken Show.
So I'm staying here too.
You will probably be staying here too, unless you're riding your bike to the studio.
I'll ride my bike.
Yeah. And what I'm going to do then, if we decide, and I want to contact Matt and see if he's down, I'm going to have games for us throughout the show. It's going to be a regimented Drunken Show. I don't mean that we're just going to sit back and leisurely drink. I am going to regiment the Drunken Show.
So we're going to put the cones out in the street?
Yeah. I got a friend, who's a CHP officer. I'm thinking we bring him in here and actually conduct sobriety tests throughout the show to really scientifically, say where we're at throughout the show. And I'll get some beer games kind of thing. We'll actually have to finish a certain amount of beer by a certain amount of time throughout the show. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm going to really get to it. Doc, we're going to have to get you a ride home next week.
I got to get me a ride home.
Yeah. All right, we're going to work on that. Are you guys in? Do you think
I'm in.
It's a good idea? John?
Let's do it.
I'll push my patient load back.
Right. There you go. Yes, ask if you can get a light load on Monday.
Yeah, I wouldn't want you operating on my
God, I feel bad for anybody who's in on Monday. I'm only going to do cleanings and minor fillings on Monday. Thank you.
I'll sit in my office and wave.
All right. Then as long as Matt's okay with it, if he's got a ride and all that, or if he's going to crash here, that'd be even better. Next week's going to be the Drunken Show. So our listeners have been asking for it.
I did a Firkin clone.
Yeah?
My attempt at his own Firkin clone, so I'll be bringing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Again, if you want to send your beers to us, contact me. I'm on the feedback button on the main page, or just Justin@thebrewingnetwork.com, and we'd love to taste your beers on the air. Doesn't matter how many we get. We'll taste them all. Especially during the Drunken Show.
Yes.
All right?
I'll be bringing 2.5 gallons of his Firkin clones.
All right. Doc, I think you might have to bring beer next week, too, then.
Okay.
And then Matt's probably going to bring beer,
I
right?
used oak in this beer, too.
Did you?
Yeah. 40 degrees, 4 ounces of French oak.
Yeah, Matt knows a lot about wood because they do the whole the Firestone Burton system, right? What they call, and I mean they're doing several thousand barrels a year in wood and then blending it back. So they're double barrel.
Okay.
So he knows a lot about wood. It's everything opposite though. He'll talk about me going, I'm looking for all these critters and funk, and they have like alarms going off if they find bread or something in their barrels.
Yeah. Daniela, did you get a measurement?
Yes, I did.
Do you want to grab the microphone real quick? Because I think everyone in the chat room missed you today.
Hi, guys. Yeah. So he's not too big, actually. When he's 37.5.
Ah, okay.
You're still the biggest dude here in the house.
I am still the biggest dude in the house, which is weird.
In the house.
What's wrong with you, Vinny?
You're tall.
You're not working hard enough. You're traveling too much.
You're brewing a lot.
You need help picking hops on Thursday, huh?
Yeah, we do. Email me if you want to come help us.
I'm thinking about it. If I can get off work, I might come help you.
Yeah, it's at Moonlight Brewery. So you'll be drinking Moonlight beer all day while we pick hops.
Cool.
And then at the end of the day, Brian takes his share of the hops into the brewery and brews his wet hop beer, and I pop into my brewery and do my wet hop beer, and then we call each other at like 2 a.m. Go, done. Okay.
Daniela, are you working Thursday? You got work Thursday?
I think actually I'm off Thursday.
Huh? Maybe we should go pick some hops.
Well, I'm not allowed. The INS would not allow me to pick hops.
You're not doing it for profit.
It's not part of your visa?
It doesn't matter. I'm not allowed to do any work beside my work.
It's not work. It's pleasure, baby.
Well, if you say so, Doc.
It's a hobby.
I'm not getting paid. I think I actually have to work on Thursday.
You get beer.
It's
all right,
barter.
let's do it. It sounds like fun.
I got to get someone to cover my shift, but I think it'd be cool.
It's barter.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That sounds good. Actually, you were talking about this Drunken Show, and I'm supposed to work next Sunday.
Yeah.
But you should definitely have a girl in the studio too drinking with you. So I might call in sick on Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you should.
Yeah, I should.
Why don't you just see if you can get someone to cover it right now?
All right, I'll see if I get someone to cover.
All right, yeah, you got to be involved in the drunken show, Daniela.
Really, if I can't be involved, I'm going to be really bummed about that.
Okay.
But the chat room already thinks that you're going to bring it weak anyway, so.
They don't even realize the quantities of beer that this man can drink.
You are the king.
I mean,
so I'm glad they doubt you.
If they want to talk sissy, they're going to be talking to Brewcaster John over there.
What are you talking about? I'll bring it home.
Hey, Doc, the chat room said to tell you the chicks love the buttons you sent.
Oh,
that's
excellent.
Gotta be
I brought one here. I brought one right there, a crotch rot button.
Oh, cool.
I loved his logo so much.
That you made
it had to be made into buttons.
Very nice. Doc's our button guy.
Yeah, he is.
We got cool Brewing Network buttons.
We got a button for Vinnie, too.
All right, cool. All right, so next week, Matt from Firestone, and it sounds like it's going to be the Drunken Show.
A lot of good English ales.
Possibly archives available by Tuesday, kids. I'll see what I can do. I'm going to work all day tomorrow. Yeah, except for the first 15 minutes.
You were talking about website stuff.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
We've been there, done that.
We didn't get to the good stuff to the second segment anyway. What's this?
You're a wolf.
Oh, and the chat room wants us to get some strippers for the next show, which I'm totally willing to work on.
Our girlfriends.
I'm fine with that. I don't know. You can have your girlfriend strip. That's fine.
You guys need a pole in here.
Yeah, I've got no problem mounting a pole or mounting anything else for that matter.
Let's do it.
All right. Pole. All right, so strippers and beer next week. It sounds like
okay, a lot done next week.
Shaping up to be. Yeah, there's going to be very little information given out next week. It's going to be a highly entertaining show, but I'm sure the information's going to be minute. Even though Matt knows a lot of stuff, we're going to be too drunk to get to it.
Anybody that wants to drive me home,
I'm just estimating.
Volunteers.
Yeah, we'll get you home. We got to get you home, Doc. So probably don't even. We'll have to pick you up too, so that you so you got your car at home. All right, we're gonna work all that out for next week. Sound good?
All right,
Vinny. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, Russian River Brewing Company. You can go to www.russianriverbrewing.com. You can get their beer there. You can get merch there, and you can contact Vinny there. He's
they have a cool website.
Yeah, they do.
So what?
We do too.
All right. That's it then, huh, kids?
Yes.
All right. Thanks again, Vinny.
Yep.
We'll see you next week.
Pale ale is a friend of mine, and I sure like good barley wine. Chocolate porter, cherry stout, don't you know what I am talking about? Don't you give me that American crude, boys, I want a real homebrew. Homebrew, don't you really love it? Homebrew, can't get enough of it. Homebrew, it blows my mind. I love homebrew all the time. Yeah, I think I have me. Well, I have the one right now. Should know how to get down. Double and triple on my best friend. I think I'll have them all over again. But don't you give me that American truth, boys, I want a real homebrew. Homebrew, don't you really love that homebrew? Can't get enough of it. Homebrew, it blows my mind. I love homebrew all the time. Yeah, I think I'll have me. Well, I'll have me one right now. Give me a wheat beer on a hot summer day. A vodka do me when the skies are gray. I'll take a Belgian brew anytime, and the women think the lambic fine. But don't you give me that American crude, boys, I want a real homebrew. Homebrew, don't you really love that homebrew? Can't get enough of it. Homebrew, it blows my mind. I love homebrew all the time. Yeah, I think I'll have me. Well, I'm the one right now. pour a cherry stout. Yeah, you know what I am talking about. But don't you give me that American crude, boys, I want a real home brew. Home brew, don't you really love it, that home brew? Can't get enough of it. Home brew, it blows my mind. I love home brew all the time.